All right, here we go. Might as well get going. I heard the beeping stop for a little bit. So, welcome. There we go to our 2023 spring coach orientation. So real quick, before we get started, this is being recorded. I think you all got the notification as you logged in. So anything you say can and will be used against you. It's just a joke. If you do have any questions during the presentation, you can write them down. We can address them all at the end, or you can kind of use the text chat feature there on Zoom. And we might have some pausing points or some opportunities where we can answer those questions verbally, or a lot of times the other board members will be able to answer those questions throughout the presentation. So write them down and we'll get to them at some point, or you can use that text chat feature. Make sure you have all the information that you need. So real quick, thank you all for being here. We appreciate you taking the time. My name is Josh Schwarz. I'm the coach administrator and coach instructor here, excuse me, at AYSO 1463. I'm on my, 8th year as a volunteer and going on 6th or 7th year as the board member. I'm a coach, referee, board member, and definitely an awesome guy. And as you can see from these great photos, I am a photo bomb extraordinaire. And my upcoming sidekick, Krista, is following my lead. No one's safe. I will photobomb anybody. So real quick, this is kind of the agenda of this meeting. A lot of information to go over. It's all very important, so bear with us. We're going to try and go through this as quickly as possible while making sure you get all the information that you need. So we'll start with the AYSO vision and mission. This should look familiar to all you coaches if you've done anything online or in person with AYSO. AYSO's vision is to provide world-class youth soccer programs that enrich children's lives. The way AYSO accomplishes that vision is through their mission to develop and deliver quality youth soccer programs which promote a fun family environment based on AYSO's 6 core philosophies. Those 6 philosophies, real quick, everyone plays. So AYSO National requires players to play at least 50% of each game. Here in 1463, we take it a step further, and 75% is our requirement. So coaches, you need to remember that all players need to play 75% of the games that they are there. Balanced teams, we do a number of things to try and create balanced teams, including in-person evaluations, which unfortunately were canceled due to rain this season. We also do coach evaluations where they rate their players at the end of each season. And so we use that to create as balanced teams as possible. Open registration means there's no location limits on who can register and play in AYSO. If you live in Los Angeles and you want to play in Marietta, you can. If you live in Colorado and want to play in Los Angeles, you can. That's what open registration means. Positive coaching, that's pretty self-explanatory. So we always want to coach using positive messages and tone, obviously, while providing that constructive criticism to build up that player and their skill development. Good sportsmanship, also pretty self-explanatory, especially us as coaches. We have to emulate that at all times. Be a good sport, win or lose, and show that to all coaches, parents, and referees. And then, of course, player development, right? The players are the reason we're doing this to begin with. So we all want to win. Winning is great. But our main focus should be to provide to enriching their lives, right? Part of that vision. We're going to give you all the information and tools to help you do that and be successful with developing your players.
Real quick, Josh, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Sorry
Go for
for
it.
interrupting. Hey, everybody. My name is Jaime Bencia. I am the regional commissioner for those of you who don't know me. Really fast. And Josh, if you don't mind going back to the previous slide. I was hoping, if you don't mind, on everyone plays, because this question actually pops up from coaches all the time, and Josh, you probably hear it way more than I do. So what happens in the instance that a player is simply almost never coming to practice almost all season long, and then maybe in the last few games they end up showing up? Do they still have to play the 75%?
That's a fantastic question. And you're right, Jaime. We probably get that question multiple times every season. How often players show up to practice does not matter at all. If they show up to 0 of your practices the entire season, but they show up to every game, they still need to play 3/4 of every game. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Jaime. Great question. So 1463 is just one region. We're part of a greater whole, AYSO, Section 1 Area R. If you're an upper division coach, you will be playing some of these regions, either at our fields or at their fields. So just know that we're one small piece of a much bigger puzzle. And then, of course, the kid zone. Probably the most important bullet point on this is this first one. Kids are number one. They're the reason we do this. They're the reason we have this program. They're the reason we dedicate all our time and energy to what we do as coaches and board members. It's about them. Fun, not winning is everything. So make sure everything that we do is enriching the kids' lives and it's focused and built around the children. Obviously, no yelling and anger, especially as a coach. It's not going to be acceptable. Respecting the volunteer referees, super important. And then, of course, general behavior, especially when you're around kids. No swearing, no alcohol, tobacco, no weapons. Clean up after yourself. God bless you. Always set the example of good sportsmanship and always celebrate the player, win or lose. I don't care how bad you did as a team that game. You can find something great that every single player did. Okay, so that's what you need to focus on, not the negative. So that's it for me for now. I'll go ahead and introduce our volunteer coordinator, Mr. Carlos Torres. The one and only, after I asked him to unmute. There you go.
Hey guys, how you doing? Give me 1 second. Sorry, I was responding to a coach. Hold on.
Always hard at work. Always responding to coaches.
Carlos is an amazing human. I'm not sure how he does what he does. That's for sure.
Well, thank you for that. But thank you for that. So listen, so I'm going to go ahead and push the slide. My name is Carlos Torres. I'm the AYSO volunteer coordinator. I'm also the competitive play coordinator. So a lot of you, if not most of you, have already spoken to me. We've talked and emailed back and forth and stuff like that. So that's me. So now you see me in person. Hope to meet you guys all at the coach meet and greet on Saturday. So anyways, I'm going to cover the volunteer program itself. So AYSO is 100% volunteer organization. Everyone in this organization, from Josh to Christy, who does an insane work, the registrar, Brian, her husband, Jaime, our regional commissioner, who keeps us focused and on task. Jaime, I mean, if you ever see Jaime on the field, not if you ever see, when you see Jaime on the field, do me a favor and say a huge thank you. You might even give him a hug because he does so much for our region. He has, like all of us, full-time job, a family, and he does a lot of behind-the-scenes work that is just amazing. And
Check.
I'll even toot our own horn. Last year we were Region of the Year, and 90% of that was because of that gentleman right there,
No, no,
Jaime.
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
Real quick, if we're going to talk about that, in all honesty, guys, and we're going to get into it later, we were Region of the Year, which, by the way, that was, there's 69 other regions in Section 1. So it was a gigantic honor. And in all honesty, I appreciate what Carlos is saying, but it really is everybody. And that includes the board members, that includes you guys as coaches, that includes everybody who steps up as referees. That's everybody, right? And people notice it, and because they notice it, that's the reason why. And Carlos, obviously, and Josh and Christy and Brian and everybody else is a gigantic part. So, but thank you for that, Carlos. Checks in the mail, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so all that just to say that again, we're 100% volunteer. And you hear us say it all throughout the season, even that when the referees do their end game presentation or whatever. So we just want everybody to know that we do it for the kids, right? And that's why we volunteer. No one gets paid. A couple seasons ago, we actually got a compliment, a weird kind of compliment. I was asking some coaches and some teams and some parents to help out, with the volunteer point system and all that stuff, whatever. And parent actually asked me, he said, "Wait a minute, why do you want me to help?" And I said, "Well, because we all have to help." And they said, "Well, what does your salary pay for?" Like, my salary? What are you talking about? It was hilarious. So they actually believed that us as board members, we got paid. So I guess that's a good compliment, thinking that we run an organization well, right? So we care. Every one of us has a specific task or specific assignment that we do, and we all work really well together. And yeah, we do it for the kids, for the community, for the coaches to enjoy themselves, and the parents to enjoy themselves. So why they play soccer in AY. So definitely, all that to say is we need more volunteers. Anyone can volunteer. Obviously, you have. I've cold called you many times. A lot of you begged you to please help us out and be a coach because we can't coach all the teams, and you guys stepped up and you did it. So thank you so much. But anyone can be a volunteer. A mom, dad, sister, brother, uncle, grandpa, even people that don't have kids in the region who are either retired or just you just want to be involved in the community. Absolutely, that's what this is for, including high school kids who have volunteer hours. So the roles are, simple coaches, assistant coaches, referees, assistant referees, ARs, youth referees, who can get volunteer hours for high school. And then we have the EPIC program. We need buddies for the EPIC program as well.
And
Um,
you know what? We need to throw board members on that too.
well, it's actually another one. So go ahead and bug another slide.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So now, in order to be a volunteer, though, there is AYSO takes the safety of kids very, very serious. You guys all know that because you've all coaches and you know that you have to complete this. But any person that volunteers that interacts with the kids, whether it be a board member, referee, anything like that, that's officially dealing with the kids, has to go through safety protocols and safety training and coach training. So those are the lists: safe haven, concussion protocols, sudden cardiac arrest, safe sport, live scan certification, and then of coach all the coach and assistant coach certifications if you're a coach, and then a referee certifications as well if you're a coach also. So all of you know this because you got my emails, you and I have talked or whatever. But the reason I'm covering it now is so that make sure, and we'll talk about this later. It's important that you guys get volunteers on your team to help you with your team as well. So, anyways, go ahead, Josh, continue. Uh, One thing that we stress a lot, so don't worry. We as board members, that's one of the reasons we ask for a lot of help from the teams during game days. We will always make sure that everyone respects everyone. We're all volunteers, including the referees. We in our region do a fantastic job. You're going to meet a gentleman by the name of Morrow and another gentleman by the name of Steve. There our Morrow is the ref admin, and Steve is our referee director. Um, they make a great job of making sure that we have great referees, number one, and two, that we protect the referees. No one is allowed to question, yell, scream, or get out of control on our fields and on our game and stuff. So, but that also applies to coaches. We don't let anyone, yell at the coaches or anything like that. We always respect the referees. So that as a coach, just remember that we're competitive, I know, but please make sure that you control yourself and remember that no one is trying to make a bad call. If it is a bad call, it was not on purpose, right? It was just an accident. I myself have ref many games, and I'm sure I've made bad calls. And again, I never meant it to be on purpose. If I make a bad call, I correct it for the next time. Go ahead, Josh. Board members, this is a slide Josh was mentioning. Yeah, absolutely. So if you ever want to, you guys are coaches now, right? And assistant coaches. If you ever want to be more involved, right? Which again, doesn't require you to spend hours and hours and hours on the fields like we do. If anyone just helps 1 hour a Saturday, right? And decides to be a board member and pick up one of the roles that we have available, it would help us tremendously. It would help us from having to be there. We would probably still be there all day, but it would help us be able to help other people on game days and through the weekends or whatever. So if you ever feel you want to get involved, everyone has, all various kinds of jobs and expertise in different areas. It would be amazing. I know one thing we're looking for right now is like a social media director or social media volunteer. That'd be fantastic because I know Jaime does that right now behind the scenes, and that's a lot of work for Jaime on top of everything else he has to do. But those are all the roles. But if you want to, reach out to me or any of the board members, and we'll invite you to a board meeting, and you can see what it's all about. And not only that, you can help us structure the region as we go along. That's me, my picture, my email. You already have it, but in case you need it. Um, but the other thing too, everything we talk about here, everything we talk about throughout the season, everything we post on social media, everything is on our website. So you can always look on our website. I will always text to remind you. Josh will always email to remind you. Jaime will always email the parents to remind them. We communicate. If anything, I think we over communicate. I think I had a coach tell me one time that I text them more than their wife does. So that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I will communicate with you. You'll never say you didn't know. Now, this leads us to the volunteer point system. So the reason we created the volunteer point system is so that we talked about AYSO being a 100% volunteer. Well, it's not easy to get people to volunteer in anything we do, right? So not only just AYSO, but other things too. So we developed the volunteer point system. The volunteer point system is as follows. everyone will make the playoffs or the Commissioner's Cup. Now, this applies to only 8U and above. The schoolyard and 6U does not have playoffs. But 8U and above teams, everyone, even if you lose every game, you will make the playoffs as long as you fulfill your volunteer points per category. There are multiple categories that you have to hit. It's not total volunteer points, it's the volunteer points per category. And the categories are as follows: tent duty. I'm sorry, go back real quick, Josh.
Oh,
Sorry.
my bad, my bad.
No worries. So in the blue in the middle there, you see it's tent duty, field lining, photographer or pictures, post certifications, refereeing, referee certifications, setting up the goals, or becoming a certified team parent. So all these things are things that you can do. Now go ahead, Josh. Every team has a specific, these are in red, you see that the categories. Those are the categories. So every team, in order to participate in the playoffs, has to fulfill all these volunteer point requirements. So the head coach has to be certified, and you take care of that. That's something you have to do in order to be a coach. You have to be certified. That's just normal, right? So once you're certified, boom, that category is fulfilled. Every head coach has to be certified as a referee as well. They have to take the referee certification, and they have to take the in-person referee class, which our ref admin has been gracious enough to make it really short now. It's half online and then an hour and a half to 2 hours in person. So that's awesome. So it doesn't take as much time. And that includes all 8U through 16U divisions on referees, referee points. I'm sorry, the head coach has to be certified as a referee. And then the team, it doesn't have to. A lot of coaches ask me, since I'm certified as a referee, does that mean I have to referee games? The answer is no, but we want you to, because there are going to be referees for your game. So we ask that your team or you provide a referee or referees for other games, right? Essentially, the way we always say it, or I always say it, is if you're the home game, you should provide referees for another game that day, right? Which is another hour, hour and a half, and so whatever. So we'll talk more about that, but every team has to provide referees. Every team has to fulfill the referee points. And the way you're going to do that is when you have your team meeting, you have to express that to your parents. Because I'll tell you right now, I talked to every parent, if not once, at least twice. And they all said, I can't be head coach, but I can help out the team with anything they need. Well, this would be one of the things that the team would need. They would need people to step up and be referees and also referee games. And on that, you don't have to worry about it because we will mentor you. We will have someone there by your side, whether it be myself, Mauro, we'll have referee mentors. When you ref a game, you will not be by yourself. So we will be with you until you feel comfortable. So don't ever worry about that. We don't just throw you out there. Then there's miscellaneous points. Miscellaneous points is a variety of things. It could be lining fields, extra coach certifications, a team manager, assistant coach, doing extra tent duty, more pictures during games on Saturdays. All sorts of things could be miscellaneous points. And again, everything in red is a category. I need you to remember that. Tent duty points, it's 4 points are required. Super easy. Essentially, that turns out 1 point equals 1 hour. So just 4 hours for the entire season. We ask someone on your team come down to the tent and help us out at the tent on Saturdays. Sportsmanship points, that's really important. That goes into our whole, we don't let anybody disrespect or be rude to our referees or coaches. Sportsmanship points, every game, your referee will evaluate your team, you as a coach, your parents, and your players from 1 to 5. And if someone was getting out of control, you lose sportsmanship points. If you lose enough sportsmanship points, you will not be in the playoffs, right? And I think you can only miss like 4 points, right? And you have to get a total of 35 for the season. So it's very, very tough. If the ref at any point feels that you were being rude or your parents being rude, they'll dock points and then you won't be in the playoffs. So that stops people from doing that because everybody knows that from the beginning. And they just seem to control themselves a little bit better. So that's why we do sportsmanship points. Picture points, we like to post things that pictures of the kids playing on Saturdays on our social media websites, Instagram, Facebook. So we ask every team, they all take pictures anyways, assign a parent on the team to take at least 4 action shots, and then 1 picture of you and the child that wins the pin, because we award pins at the end of every game. Josh will cover that later. And then send it to us through an email, and then you get your picture points for that week. So 4 action shots plus 1 picture of the pin winner. That's 5 pictures for that week. And then we post them on social media. And the kids love, I know my kids did, The kids love when they see their pictures on Facebook or Instagram. They think they're famous or whatever for the week and stuff, whatever. So it's really, really cool. So, and then the last one is player evaluations. The player evals are completed by you as a coach. No one will see them but you. I ask you that you evaluate your kids. The player evals are super easy. I do all the work for you. All you have to do is hit 1 through 5 in each category. I believe there's 5 categories. The names and everything will be there. You just put the numbers 1 through 5 in each category, and you're done. It'll take you like 5, 10 minutes to complete. And those all the volunteer points that you have to hit. Other things that have to happen that are not point related, but on game days, please remember as coaches, you need to make sure your parents help you. If you're the first game of the day, you need to please have your parents come help you. Typically, the first game is at 8:30 in the morning. Have them be there by 8 o'clock, and make sure that there's no holes on the field. Make sure that the nets are up, the goals are set up, the flags are set up, the fields are lined. We do all that on Friday anyways, but we ask that the parents on the first game of the day on that field, inspect it and make sure one team takes half a field, the other team takes the other half. That way, we're always making sure that the kids are playing in a safe environment. And then if you're the last game of the day on that field, we ask that you help us out, and you ask your parents. Again, one team picks one side, the other team picks the other side, and they tear down the field. They pick up any trash, they take down the flags, they take down the goals, they take down the nets, and they put them all back. And you'll see in our fields we have a section where we put everything back. You just have to bring it there. We put it away, but just bring it to us. It makes it easier and stuff. So, but that's what you would do when you are the last one. Everything, I know I talked about it very quickly. It's very fast. Here's a QR code if you want to take out your phone real quick. Scan with your camera app. Scan the QR code. I'm going to email it to you. I'm going to text it to you anyways. But if you want to just quickly look at it right now, scan the QR code right now. It'll take you to the volunteer port guidelines. Everything I just talked about, and it'll be broken down by division because each division does have a few different requirements. But yeah, and like I said, I'm going to text it to you. I'm going to email it to you. You're not, and you're going to have a copy of this also on the coach meet and greet. Go ahead, Josh. One more slide. Do I have another slide? That was it. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and then I'm going to stick around until after the presentation. I'll answer any questions you guys have. I'll hand off to Mauro.
I think real quick, actually, we're gonna introduce Steve. Steve, unfortunately, Mauro, I believe Mauro might be on the call, but he may not be able to get on camera and speak. So I believe he has work-related stuff. But we will introduce Steve. Steve will do us a favor and go through these slides. Steve, if you don't mind hooking us up.
Sure. Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here, and thank you, coaches, for taking the time to join this orientation. I'm here on behalf of Mauro Guerrera. He's unfortunately has a work-related issue that didn't allow him to join tonight. So have to be here. So just as a reminder of where, as a referee, we fit into the AYSO team, we're part of the triangle of support for the kids. It's the referee, the coaches, and the parents. And we're all in this together. And Carlos made a lot of points along that line, and I just wanted to remind us of why we're here, and that's to support the kids in the middle. So next slide, please. So we always need referees. Now, Carlos made a big statement about that too. I won't read all of the points on this, but I just want to point out that unless we have a referee assigned to a U8 match or above, that match cannot be played without a certified referee being assigned to that match. So for all of the work that you coaches are doing during the week to get your teams ready to play on Saturday, if we don't have a referee available to cover that game, you can't play it. So all that work is for naught. So I know it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of people say, I've certified as a referee. Do I need to referee? Well, no, you don't. But unless we can work together to pay forward to our other coaches to have their game covered, we need referee teams. So it's incumbent upon you to work with your parents, come out and referee yourself. It's a good way to see the game in a different perspective, because if you're the referee in the middle of the field, you can actually see plays develop in a much different way, and it's a really great spot to watch a match. So and we'll get to the mentoring here in just a minute. It's a future slide, but you won't be alone, and we'll be there to support you. We also are working to grow our youth referee contingent. So this helps those referees develop confidence. It helps them understand the game better, and they also can use that time to get their community service points as they get into high school. So it's a benefit for them there. And we take seriously the support for the youth referee program, and we would tolerate zero harassment of any of our youth referees. Good, next slide, please. So we will be holding an additional referee class. It hasn't been set up yet. There is, that's tonight. We will be setting up another class for anyone who still needs to get their certification, or if you've reached out to parents and anyone would want to become a certified referee, we will make another class available, or classes available to make that happen. Next slide, please. And the mentorship program. Carlos made mention of this too, but we are the senior referees on the staff are making themselves available to be on the fields with you, mentor you on the sidelines, give you feedback after your match, and provide it to you right there. And as long as you feel you need a mentor, we will do our best to provide you the support you need so that you become successful. As the whole purpose of what we're trying to do here to grow the cadre of referees that we have is we want everyone to be self-sufficient, feel comfortable with the role that they have, and to become comfortable working the more advanced matches because they become more fun and exciting. So moving up to do a U12 or U14 or U16 match is what we want to try and grow all of our referees to be capable of doing. So if you have any questions about the mentor program, you can reach out to myself or Mauro. Our information is out on the website, to our contact information. So we are there. And if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out. And that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. Real quick, if you don't mind me hijacking this for a quick second, Josh. A couple of things I want to mention about refereeing, and I kind of mention these things usually every single time, and I know Josh does a really good job of doing it as well. Coaches, obviously, this is a coaches meeting. One of the reasons why we make it a requirement for you guys to go to the referee class. Number one, obviously, we're trying to entice you to kind of become a referee. That's super important, right? Number one. But number two, it's actually meant to help teach you guys about the laws of the game, right? You guys as coaches need to understand first and foremost what the laws of the game are in order to improve yourself as a coach, right? And in order to kind of help provide that kind of player development and soccer development for the kids, for them to learn the laws of the game. So it's really there to kind of, number one, make you a referee, but number two, really kind of teach you what you need to know to become a better coach, right? So that's one thing. Number two, as far as the players, what some of the older coaches do, and feel free for some of the 12U coaches as well if you want to, is entice some of your younger players to go out to these referee courses. Because again, it's a scenario of if the players learn the laws of the game, they're going to become better soccer players by understand where they can bend the rules, where they can, what the rules are, what the laws are, what the laws of the games are. So that's super important as well. And for those of you out there who are thinking, well, I'm a coach, yeah, I'll go to the referee course, but I'm not going to referee. Again, we had mentioned you're not required to, but if that's the case, we really, really need you guys to entice your parents and get your parents to help us out, right? And remind them and remind yourselves that, like, a lot of us, and this is including me, when I first joined the board, when I first brought my son to AYSO about 10 years ago, I knew nothing about refereeing. I knew nothing about soccer. I knew nothing about soccer at all. I grew up playing baseball. I was a baseball guy. And so when I became a referee, I had zero knowledge about the whole thing. I took the referee course, and it wasn't until then that all of a sudden my eyes opened to like understanding the laws and liking the game of soccer. And then I went out and I became an assistant referee, and I was, with the flag, and I was out there running the lines. And I started little by little developing this love for refereeing. And all of a sudden, years later, I'm out there refereeing with Josh and Steve and Mauro and whoever else as much as we possibly can, and Carl, because we love it, right? We all of a sudden, we just fell in love with it, and we're out there doing all the time. So, it's an absolutely important role. It's one that you guys should absolutely take seriously. And you may end up really liking it. And on top of that, it's good exercise too. It gives you a chance to get out there and just kind of run around the fields and be out there with the kids. So just please keep that all in mind when it comes to the referee program. That's it for me. Josh, go for it, man.
Man, that was a great final touch, Jaime. That was awesome. All right, appreciate that. And then moving on to Mr. Jim Simpson.
Thanks, Josh. Sorry if my camera is a little shaky. I had to take this in the car on the way home, and so doing this from there on my phone. But my name is Jim Simpson. I'm the safety director. I'll also be on the team with Mauro and Steve as the ref scheduler. So if you have scheduling issues for the referee, I'll be the one sending out that schedule link every week, get that up for you guys and things like that. So next slide, Josh. So we'll kind of start out with most of the safety events that, that are related to things that we have to call during the day have to do with weather related. So our rain policy for AYSO is that we do not cancel games due to rain. If otherwise it's not unsafe to play, that we would continue those games in the rain. But keep in mind that the city of Murrieta controls our fields, and so they may close the fields due to rain. So if games get canceled, coaches, we will notify you you guys should then distribute that out to the parents. We also do a lot of communication with email blasts and things like that to go out to the parents as well to help you. But we and also update those social media pages. So that being said, again, we don't cancel due to rain, but the fields may be closed because of that. Now, if there is thunder and lightning, then play is stopped immediately and everyone should leave the field to a safe area. Typically, that would be, the vehicles that are at the practice or at the games. Play cannot resume until 30 minutes after all of the thunder and lightning has stopped. And then lastly is policies related to heat. And that can certainly become a concern for us in Southern California. It doesn't matter if it's spring or fall. We get the heat in the beginning of the fall and we get the heat really at the end of the spring. That's something that we keep an eye on. If the heat index or the air quality index is too high, then we may have to either cancel games. That has happened in the past, especially with some of the fires and things like that can go on in Southern California. But we may institute additional water breaks during the games for any kind of whenever the heat is high. We also may communicate to you if the heat index is high enough during your practices that you need to schedule extra water breaks and things like that, and communicate that we're under more of that heat policy guidelines. So what we'll do on the day of games, if we're going to be instituting any kind of changes with extra water breaks, we will distribute that out to you as coaches at the tent whenever you go to pick up the pins for the day and pick up your, information. We'll have that at the referee tents to be able to, give them the information as well. And the referees will be the ones that are controlling that. If we do take extra water breaks, the games are not extended. So for instance, if it is a 50-minute game with two 25-minute running halves, the extra water breaks will still be a part of that 25-minute running half. We have a schedule, unfortunately, we have to keep to be able to get the games in on time. So we cannot extend them due to the extra water breaks. And then if games are canceled, then we avoid that at all costs, but sometimes we have to make that difficult decision. If we are able to come up as a board with a date for makeup games, then we will let you guys know as soon as possible so that you can notify your parents. Some safety notes to keep in mind, and this is especially important for you guys to enforce at practices as our coaches, is that non-registered players and volunteers cannot participate in any practices or games. So siblings cannot help during practice. You can't have extra parents out on the field to do things. They can be on the periphery, obviously, and possibly, they can be doing some things like, sorry about that. They can be doing things like shagging balls and things of that nature, but you cannot use them, on the field if they are not as registered as a volunteer. That's very easy for them to do. You can have really as many assistant coaches as you like during the time that you're running your practices, but they do just need to be registered as assistants. And then I'm sure Josh will talk a little bit more about the coach rules for how many coaches can be on the sidelines during the game. Remember that if we do have to have a club linesman for a game for referees, that person is not covered by insurance. So that is whenever we ask for a sideline volunteer if we do not have enough assistant referees. And also, I failed to mention earlier, under no circumstances should any adults play in scrimmages or games, whether they're registered volunteers or not. And that includes playing games with other adults or with minors while you're at practices. So obviously you can be on the field to coach, be directing your players on where to go and things like that. You could be, possibly in a drill, feeding them some passes or things like that, but you should not be doing any type of activity where an adult is, on the field playing against a child, even in a, trying to do that in a less than full manner. Parents for age 10U and under must remain at the field with their children. So do not allow your parents to drop off the child at practice and then leave. Whenever it's 10U and under, the rules get relaxed a little bit on that whenever they get to the older divisions. But that's especially important that the 10U and under parents stay at the field to watch and observe that practice for those children at that age group. Feel free to discuss any concerns that you have with us as the board, and we encourage the parents to discuss any concerns with the coaches and the region. So if you have a child that has learning disabilities and the parent has come to you and you need some guidance on that, we have several board members that have some expertise in dealing with children with learning disabilities and things like that. So the region will work with you and we can get you hooked up with the right resources to help that player to have a good experience. And we want to support you as coaches in being able to support that player. So make sure to review all the safety protocols that are available on the safety tab on the website, which again is AYSO1463.org. Always remember, and this is especially important with the younger children, that physical contact with players is not allowed. So you shouldn't be doing, like any kind of shoulder rubs or back rubs whenever they're on the bench. Please refrain from hugging the players. This includes, grabbing their arms to move them or grabbing their shoulders to move them around during practice, for example. So all of that is, all of that activity is prohibited by AYSO. And sometimes the parents may not act like that they have been offended by that, but they will come to us as board members and then we have to intervene. So if you can just avoid that kind of contact with players, that would be the best way to handle it so that, we don't have to get involved. And this can open us up and you to possible safe sport related violations. So that's certainly something that we don't want to have happen.
By the way, really real quick addition to that, Jim, because I know every time we talk about this slide, I inevitably get the questions from certain coaches. Is it okay to do a high five or a fist bump? Those are all okay, right? If you guys want to do a quick high five, a fist bump, those are fine. But anything more than that, definitely not, because like what Jim was saying, it definitely could open us up to some safe sport related violations. So, but fist bumps and high fives are completely okay. So heads up on that.
Okay. And then also for the safety of all the spectators, remind your parents that no pets are allowed at any AYSO related activities. That includes practices and games. So make sure that your parents please keep their pets at home for all those activities. Service animals are okay, but again, this is a big thing to communicate to your parents, because if they bring, a dog or anything like that to the field, then one of the board members is unfortunately going to have to come up and ask them, to take that animal off the field and take it home. So please communicate that in your parent meeting in your first practices. Here's the picture of me. If you see me out on the fields, please come up and ask any questions that you have. Like I said, you'll also be getting emails about the referee schedule and things from me. You can always reach out to me at either of those email addresses. They all go to the same place. And you can review those safety protocols at the AYSO website. So
Awesome.
excited to get. Yep. Thanks so much,
Perfect.
Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Or thank you, Jim. Excuse me. Also, thank you, Steve, Jaime, and Carlos. That was great. So trucking right along, we're getting through this at a pretty good pace. So let's keep it moving. Coaching at AYSO 1463. So if any of you have been to any of my coaching courses, this should look familiar to you. I hand you a paper copy and I also email it to you after I get home. What this really means is, as AYSO coaches, we're held to a certain standard. Really stick to this, and the 6 philosophies and the mission and vision. Make sure everything you're doing is enriching children's lives, and you really can't go wrong. We don't need to go through all these one by one, but this is kind of like your guideline of how you need to carry yourself as an AYSO coach at all AYSO functions. Coaches are not the only people in our organization that we hold to a high standard. Players should be held to a certain standard as well. Take this for what you will, but what I like to do with this in my teams is I'll hand each player out a copy at our very first meeting, and I'll assign, Johnny gets number 1, Jacob gets number 2, and so on and so on. And their homework is to go home and read this, understand it, and then the next time we have a meeting together, each player will take turns speaking in front of the team about what this means and how we will accomplish this as a team throughout the season. So it lets them know that they can't come and disrespect you as a coach, or start throwing stuff at you, or screaming, or anything disrespectful like that. It really lets them know what your expectations as a coach are. That's not required. That's what I do. It's worked really well over the years. But just know that coaches are not the only ones held to a standard. Players are as well. And then my favorite, parents are also held to a standard. Okay. It's really important as coaches that you let these expectations known to your coaches earlier rather than later. Okay. If you let them know what your expectations are of them, it's going to alleviate a lot of your potential issues throughout the season. So we have a parent pledge. I know Carlos sends it out. A lot of coaches send it out, that we make our parents initial and sign bullet point by bullet point and hand it back to us. That way they know there's also expectations for them that we expect as coaches. You know what? They're on the sideline. We want them to cheer. We want them to be loud, but they have to be positive, and they have to understand that you are the coach, not them. Okay. So keep that in mind too. All right, moving right along. So super important is communication. Okay. Communication is key. So contact your parents ASAP. I know you don't have your rosters yet. When you do, get a hold of your parents right away. Trust me, they're waiting for your phone call. When you do call them, make sure you confirm the email addresses that you have on your roster. A lot of times those are old addresses. Sometimes there's typos on them. Sometimes they have a different email address that they would prefer you use. So get that information with each and every parent as you call them. Okay. Communicate via email. There you go. Follow up with a phone call if you don't respond. You have to make sure that they are getting the information you're trying to send out one way or another. All right. There's our website and social media. Talking right along. There we go. Good and timely communication with the parents will save us all a lot of work and headaches in the end. Okay. Take that to the bank. Also, when emailing, make sure you use the BCC function. A lot of parents and people in general don't like their email addresses being exposed to other people that they may not know. So use that BCC function so everyone's email addresses stay hidden. Okay. Now, the Game Changer app, we're going to go over this in the next slide. So the Game Changer app is one of those team apps. There's a lot of them out there. Some of you have probably used some of them before. Hopefully, a lot of you have used Game Changer, especially as of last season. But this is the one we recommend. Game Changer does it all. It's great for our organization. It does everything you need it to do. Rosters, scheduling, inviting team staff. making your calendar, all that stuff. It's super user friendly. Game Changer is the way to go. I've probably used a dozen different apps over the course of the years, and Game Changer's been the best one with me so far. So I highly recommend it. I recommend all of you coaches use this as well. It's that great communication function too, where there are no email addresses shown, but you can still get the messages out and everyone gets them on their phone. Okay.
Real quick, Josh, if you don't
Cool.
mind me interrupting real fast. So do us
Go
a
for it.
favor, and I know, Josh, you were probably going to send this in an email later, so it's not that big of a deal, but do us a favor, coaches. So another thing, Josh is absolutely right. It's a great app. We've just started using it last season. It's a newish company that's been in existence for a couple of years now. But number one, number two, like they do provide for each and every coach that uses it. It's not a whole lot. We use it a little bit as a fundraiser. They provide us a little bit of incentive and a little bit of money back to the region for each coach that uses it, right? It's not a whole lot, but every little thing helps for the region, right? So do us a big favor. If you end up using the app, which we really hope you do, please give Josh a heads up. Let him know so we can kind of keep track of who's using it. And then I can go back to Game Changer and say, X amount of coaches are using it and go from there. Just want to kind of point that out real quick for you guys. So that's about it. Sorry, Josh.
No, that's great. That's a good point, Jaime. And you know what? I should have actually made a second slide for this, because one of the greatest things about Game Changer app is you can live stream your games, right? You can set up your phone on a tripod and hit like record. And if grandma and grandpa live in Ohio or whatever, and they want to watch Johnny play his game, look, they can watch it live stream right there. It's super easy to do. And so that's one of the great features, and Game Changer is the only team app that I know that does something like that. So it can also record it. So you can go back and watch that game video later if you want. You can share that game video with anybody that you want, family members or whatever, maybe who live out of town or whatever the case is. Okay. So that's a super, super cool feature of the Game Changer app.
We'll be sure to send some links. We'll send some links. We'll send some info on how to use the app. It's actually really, really user friendly. And like Josh was saying, just as a heads up, when you live stream, it is absolutely free. You send the link out. You can send it to anybody you want, and anybody can watch the game live, free. And they even have a little ticker at the top as if it was an actual professional game, and somebody else, another coach or something, can score. And it's really, really, really cool. What they kind of do to kind of earn some money, just as a heads up to you, is if you don't live stream it and you want to be able to share a previously recorded video, then you do have to pay some sort of monthly fee. But if it's solely a live stream, it's 100% free. So definitely take a look when you can, and we'll send you a lot more info on this so you guys can take a look for yourselves.
Yeah, perfect. So Game Changer is the way to go. Communicating, look, division coordinators, we always need them. Okay. Here's a list of our current division coordinators. Super awesome volunteers: Wendy, Alex, Mike, Jake, and Ricardo. We'll hear from a few of them here shortly. Look, coaches, these people are your primary resources for communicating. I know everyone talks to Carlos. A lot of you reach out to me for information. These division coordinators should be your first step. So that's important to know who your division coordinator is. If you or your parents have questions or issues that you can't resolve as a coach, look, there's who you go to, your division coordinator. They're there to help you out, make sure, everyone's being stewards of the game. And all of their contact info is on our board members page of our website. Also important, make sure you send your division coordinator contact info to your parents. They might have questions or sometimes even potential concerns about you as a coach or some other coach or something like that, and they might not feel particularly comfortable talking to you about it. So they need to know who to go to, right? So give that division coordinator info to your parents as well. And of course, if there's anything our division coordinators can't handle, they'll find somebody who can handle it and get questions answered or get issues resolved. Okay. So these are your peeps. All right. So team names. So you should decide your team names ASAP. Obviously, that's hard without a roster or knowing your uniform colors. You will have that soon. But when you do figure out a team name, let us know ASAP. Carlos, I'm sure, will be reaching out. This is so we can put the information to the picture company so it can be printed on, any applicable picture items if parents decide to order that kind of stuff. Rosters should be sent out later tonight or tomorrow. So Rosters will be sent out tomorrow. It was confirmed before this meeting. Tomorrow evening, look for your rosters, okay? And then team banners. If you are going to get a team banner, make sure they're ready for picture day, which is on March 5th. Team banners are 100% optional. They're not required by any stretch of the imagination. But if you want one as a team, hey, you want to have them in your picture, right? So get that done, have them made before March 5th. We do send out, we put some flyers in your coach binders with, some banner companies that you can use. Or if you know somebody or already have a company in mind, that's cool too. But if you are going to have a banner, probably going to want it before picture day. So keep that in mind. And then moving right along to programs and division. So we'll start with our Epic and Schoolyard programs. And then Jaime, are you going to do Epic? Is Sean on the call?
I don't believe. Let me take a look real fast if you guys don't mind.
Shauna,
I don't think we have. No, I don't think she is, unfortunately. So real quick, Shauna Glicker. Her information is at the bottom. She is our Epic coordinator. If you don't know what Epic is, some of you guys might have known it as the VIP program. It was the VIP program for several years. Now it's been changed to the EPIC program, and the EPIC is an acronym for Everyone Plays in Our Community. And it's a program that basically provides the amazing game of soccer to anyone of any age with any kind of physical or mental disabilities. And it's an outstanding program. Shauna, for the last couple of years, working along with Christy Nielsen, our assistant RC, they've been doing an amazing job season after season, working with these kids, working with these adults, teaching them the game of soccer. They've been having a blast. Pretty much the same group of kids and players have been coming back season after season, and it's been a lot of fun. We treat it as a way to teach them the game of soccer, and then eventually they get to play a game of soccer, usually at the end. We always have referees. I know Carl is on the call, and he's been involved with the program for a little while now, and he's out there refereeing for the group, and they have a really, really, really good time. So a couple of bullet points on that for anybody out there who's interested. Our sessions for the EPIC program happen on Fridays. It's going to start Friday, March 10th. It's going to end on May 12th. It's 8 sessions total, so there are no practices. It just ends up being 8 total sessions. Session time is from 4:30 to 5:15, 45-minute sessions. And we tend to use a size 5 ball, although there's a lot of times Shauna and Chrissy will have other activities and other things for the kids to do. And it's an amazing program, and we're really excited and proud of it, and hope to continue it on for many years to come. So I think that's it as far as EPIC goes.
Epic. Okay, trucking right along to Schoolyard. So Wendy is our Schoolyard coordinator. So Wendy, you have the con. Oh, we can't hear you, Wendy.
Let's see. No, it looks like you're good, Wendy. Let's see. You got your co-host.
She's unmuted.
Oh no.
Okay. I don't know. It might be.
You're doing this on purpose, Wendy. You don't want to say anything. You're doing this on purpose.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just run over this real quick. And
if you don't mind, I can grab this one too, Josh. It all works.
Go for it. Get it.
Yeah?
Yeah, get it.
Let's do it. By the way, real quick, Wendy, even though you're not able to speak, Wendy has been awesome. She has been our Schoolyard coordinator for a couple seasons now. Basically what the Schoolyard program is the kids' very, very first introduction into soccer, right? These are children that are usually about 3 years old, 4 years old. And they focus almost solely on group session play, right? So now the interesting thing is, I remember some years ago when I first tried to do Schoolyard myself, I was out there trying to actually do a Schoolyard session or two. Oh my God, it was insane, because trying to kind of make sure these 3 to 4 year olds completely making sure that I have their attention for 45 minutes on a soccer field was such a challenge, right? So that's where, Wendy, and we also have this group called UK International. They're going to be our coaches for Schoolyard. They do an amazing job of making sure they provide them a ton of activities, right? So it's all about games, it's all about activities, it's all about all the various players learning how to hop and skip and jump and throw. And just look, the challenge here, or the goal here, is for these kids at this age to have a really fun time, to laugh, to smile, and to tell their parents at the very end of the session, I want to come back next week. That's all this is for. It's for them to have fun and to learn what soccer is all about at the very beginning, right? One thing we end up doing also for the parents, because it's soccer, right? They want to see a quick game of soccer, is after we're going about maybe 30 minutes of activities and we're having a blast and we're laughing and having fun, we still will give them a very short little scrimmage game. And it tends to be like a little 5v5 game. So that way they can play the game of soccer and they're one team versus the other, and it's a blast. So real quick, some bullet points on this. Sessions are going to occur on Saturdays. It's going to start on Saturday, March 11th. It's going to end May 13th. And by the way, I know there's probably some schoolyard coaches out there, so obviously, you know, keep in mind all this information. And on top of that, make sure you're contacting Wendy if you have any questions. Wendy, I know on your end, you're going to make sure to start sending them. If you haven't already, you're going to start sending them information as far as introductions and just letting them know what's going on, right? I'll keep going with those bullet points. So session times are going to be Saturday mornings. They're going to be 45-minute sessions, kind of similar to Epic. There are no practices. Sometimes the parents start asking like, well, the sessions are on Saturdays. Do we have practices? The answer is no. It's only one session per week every Saturday, right? And the size, the soccer ball size is size 3 soccer ball, but we do got to make sure that all the kids are wearing shin guards. So that is absolutely mandatory. As a heads up to any coaches out there, schoolyard, we're going to make sure to remind the parents of this all, you know, a ton. And I'm sure Josh is going to talk about this in the other slides. Shin guards are 100% required. If they don't have their shin guards, they cannot play at all. They cannot play. So please, please, please stress that to your parents, that they need to make sure they have shin guards with them. Other than that, it's a blast. It's fun. You'll be hearing from Wendy very soon. And yeah, that is Schoolyard in a nutshell. Go for it, Josh. Oh, well, actually, well, quick,
Yeah.
I mentioned it already, but UKI international coaches. So, and Josh will kind of go into this too with another program of theirs. But yeah, great group that we work with. They are a group who we have contracted and hired and have worked with a few seasons. They are a national program. They work with tons of various AYSOs throughout the country, and they have incredible coaches. So we're really happy to have them on board for Schoolyard. And Josh will talk about them a little bit more in the rest of the slides. So.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. So moving right along to 6U. I don't think Alex is on the call anymore, but Alex Goodwin is a fantastic volunteer. He's been with us for years. He is the 6U division coordinator. His info is down at the bottom. So real quick, 6U, you know, it's a step up from Schoolyard. They're still super young, 4 and 5 year olds generally. So, you know, it's their time for exploration. You know, just let them play. They're going to be playing bumblebee soccer. They're going to be falling all over each other and doing all kinds of funny stuff. But that's cool. As long as they're having a great time, that's really what it's about. They do get practices now in 6U. So up to 45 minutes once a week is the 6U practices. Their games are 30-minute games, which consist of 2 15-minute halves. Okay. Obviously, we're going to encourage the players to explore, experiment, and participate with and without the ball. Their games are 5v5 with no goalkeepers, and the coaches for 6U are supervising the matches, and they're kind of the unofficial referees of the match. The coaches there. 6U games will occur on Saturdays. March 11th will be the first game. Practices once a week, like we talked about. 6U uses a size 3 soccer ball with a total of 8 games throughout the course of the season. So that's 6U. Right along the 8U, 8U, you know, we're moving up in age. So we're going to start focusing a little bit more on quality training, establishing those good habits and building that strong foundation for development. At the same time, you know, it's age appropriate application. You know, 6 and 7 year olds, they're still kids. They're still young kids. They do step up on practices. Now you can do 1 hour practices twice a week at 8U and up. Okay. The games are a little bit longer now too, 40-minute games, which is 2 20-minute halves, and a quick 5-minute halftime break. 8U is going to be 6v6. Their games are still no goalkeeper, no offside. In 8U, we do start introducing certified referees. So 8U matches have to have a certified referee. Youth referees, sometimes they like to take the 8U division. It's a good stepping stone for them. Obviously, if youth referees are refereeing your match, we will have referee mentors there helping them. There's more information on our website as always. And then the 8U division coordinator is Mr. Mike Callaheller. He's also our select coach, our 10U select coach. So he's a great guy, stepped up as division coordinator. He's an awesome resource for any information or questions you may have. Games on Saturdays, March 11th, opening day, practices twice a week, still a size 3 soccer ball. 8 games total with a possibility of a 9th game, which is the Commissioner's Cup. Okay, that's the possibility. Moving along to 10U. Oh, I didn't put Jake's info down there. Jake Worthington is our 10U division coordinator. Okay, so if you need his information, you should have it. It's on our website, or I can send it to you if you need it. 1 hour practices again, twice a week, very similar to 8U. 50-minute games now, so a little bit longer, 2 25-minute halves. 8 to 9 years old really is the golden age for learning and the perfect age to really increase focus on specific techniques and skills. So this is kind of the age where you're going to start soccer players like becoming soccer players. It's their time for adventure, and this you're going to see the difference between people there just having a great time and certain players are going to start building a skill as a soccer player. Okay. There's 7v7, and now you're introducing a goalkeeper. So 10U is a big step if you're moving up from 8U to 10U, because now you have a goalkeeper. You also have the offside rule in effect. Okay. And we have what's called the build out line, which we'll go into more detail on the next slide. And for 10U and above, you will have a full referee crew. So 1 referee and 2 assistant referees. Games are on Saturdays, start March 11th. Final game will end May 13th. And for 10U, it's a size 4 soccer ball now. Okay, so keep that in mind, coaches. If you were 8U last season, 10U now, we're jumping up to 1 size bigger ball, size 4. 8 game totals with a 9th week possibility. All right, and a little bit more about that build out line. Okay, this is a lot of information to go over. This image does give some good information, but really what I want you guys to focus on is these links. Okay, these 2 links, they're short YouTube video explanations talking about the build out line and offside. Watch these videos. They're super easy to follow and super informative. If you don't understand the build out line or offside, these videos will explain it to you very clearly. It's going to be your biggest gripes you get from the sidelines and usually from the coaches. But 99% of the time it's because they don't understand the offside rule. I shouldn't say rule, the offside law or the rules regarding the build out line. Okay, so another note on that too, send these links to your parents. 10U coaches, you want your parents to watch these videos too. The more information they have, the more they understand what they're looking at on the field, the better things will be and the easier life will be as a coach. Okay. All right. 12U. Ricardo, you're on the call, aren't you, buddy?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm trying to take the call from the parking lot. So hopefully
Okay.
the signal is good enough. So, hey, everyone. So 12U, I mean, pretty much, same information that we already shared. Game starting March 11th is gonna go all the way through the May 13th. We are allowed to have up to 2 practices a week, right? One of the difference here, we're gonna be using a size number 4 for the kids. It's gonna be like 60 minutes practice, again, 2 times a week, and the games are gonna be 60 minutes games, so 30 minutes half. So we usually have quarters, so it's gonna be more like a 4 15 minutes quarters, right? It's a 9v9 game, so which is important about 12U. It's in 12U we're trying to focus a little bit more on the players, how to position correctly on the field. So all the positions should be tough. However, the players can play in all positions. So you can play, the player can play like as a goalie and also be a forward on the same game. Okay, so that's the idea. The players still rotate through all the positions. However, we try to teach them how to, of course, do properly on defense or on midfielders or wings or any other position that we want to encourage. Same rule from other divisions for the goalkeepers. So the goalkeepers cannot play more than 3 quarters as a keeper. So at least need to play 1 quarter on another field position. So just make sure of enforce that, because usually coaches forget that, and we usually referees sometimes try to also enforce that, just to take notes on, okay, this player already played 2 quarters like a goalie, so we need to change that into another position on the field. There is no headers allowed, so still no headers. So if something happened with a header, if a player just hit a ball with a head, it's going to be a drop ball to the opposing team. Or if it's going to be intentional, it's going to be an indirect kick. So just remind that as well, because actually, especially in that division, a lot of parents expect to have headers, and that's very common at this one. So just make sure that you also transmit that information to your parents, that in order the ref and the coaches doesn't really receive any type of claim on those calls when the referee called those headers on a game. Okay, and of course during the practice, just remind the players about that. So all the games are in home, same Torrey Pines Park. We're gonna have 8 games total, and with the possibility that if you make the volunteer points, you're gonna qualify for the Commissioner's Cup, and then we're gonna have that extra 1, 2, or 3 games, depends of how many teams, how we accommodate the Commissioner's Cup. That's pretty much everything. Feel free to engage me if you have any additional question. And moving to 14U now.
Awesome. Thank you, Ricardo. That was amazing. Real quick, I do want to kind of clarify this bullet point about goalkeepers playing 3 quarters. This is in the situation if your goalkeeper is playing all 4 quarters, and they can only play 3 in the goal. They have to play at least one of those 4 quarters on the field. Now, keep in mind, coaches, that this is going to be a very, very rare occurrence, if ever, because remember, no player can sit twice before every player has sat once during a match. Okay, so the opportunity for you to play any player all 4 quarters during a 12U match, it's probably not going to exist unless you have some players not show up, or you're playing shorthanded or something like that. So this is in the very rare instance that you are playing one player all 4 quarters. And if you are going to keep them in goal, they're limited to no more than 3. They have to play the 4th quarter or one of those 4 quarters on the field somewhere outside of the goal. So I hope that clarifies it a little bit if there was some confusion. So trucking right along to 14U. Now we're stepping up, longer practices. Okay, so now you get 90 minutes of practice twice a week. Okay, obviously the game is a little bit longer now too. You're moving on to the full-size field and a full-size roster, 11v11 games. Big ticket items, positions, should be taught and enforced. So 14U is really where your defensive players are really going to start focusing on being defenders. Your attackers are going to focus on attacking, stuff like that. So obviously players can still move around and probably should, especially if they're newer players. But if you have a player that is just a striker, then it's okay. They can just play striker. That's up to you. Goalkeepers can play all 4 quarters here in 14U. Remember, with the caveat as 12U, as long as the roster number allows. Okay, no player can sit twice before every player has sat once. Headers are allowed now in 14U and up. Okay, and substitutions during quarter break, halftime, or injury. Games, 14U will have some weekday games and some Saturday games. Start date is still to TBA. We're working, of course, with other surrounding regions with our upper division schedules. And 14U and up, now you're going to a full size 5 soccer ball. So you'll have games obviously in the surrounding regions, including Marietta. 8 to 9 games total, and the first place team, as long as they qualify via volunteer points, will be eligible to be entered into a tournament in June for a 14U tournament. All right.
Hey,
16
Josh.
U. Yes, sir.
Just from a
Well, am I the only one? He's cutting out on me.
point,
I heard that last word.
in the rare instance that 14U.
Okay, Jim, you were cutting in and out real bad.
Can you hear
start
me
over?
now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim. I don't think we can hear you, man.
Sorry. So for from the say 14U, they're still not allowed to. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe put it in the chat, Jim. I think we're having some audio issues. So, okay. If Jim can get back online, then obviously we'll take his question. So 16U, okay, same thing. 90-minute practices twice a week, 80-minute games, 2 40-minute halves. It's still 11v11. Like I said, it's a full-size roster. Position should be taught and enforced. Okay, goalkeepers can play all 4 quarters, and 16U has what we call free subs. So any stoppage in play, with the permission of the referee, coach can make substitutions. There's no quarters in 16U and above. It's halves. So games again occur on weekdays and Saturdays with the TBA start date. Size 5 soccer ball, 8 to 9 games total. We'll play against Area 1R teams. The same thing, first place team that qualifies with volunteer points will be eligible for a 16U tournament in June. So that's 16U.
I'm sorry, Josh, real quick. So take a look at Jim's comment. I think he was just mentioning 12U aged players who play up to 14U, because keep in mind, everybody, there are times where some of the parents ask to go ahead and have their kids get moved up a division. So it's the reminder from Jim that 12U aged players who play up to 14U can still not head the ball. So just an important safety reminder from Jim.
That's a good point. Yes, thank you, Jim.
And there is an additional reminder. I thought, Jim, this is where you were going to go, but I'll go ahead and talk about it anyway. There is another heading policy, FYI, which is basically for 14U, you are limited to about 15 to 20 headers per week per player, which is an interesting note. But so say, for example, in practices during practice time, the players can only do 15 to 20 headers max, but there are no limitations or restrictions of headers in the game itself. So just a heads up, although I don't think I've ever seen a kid do 15, 20, 30 headers before. So I think we're okay. Anyway, go for it, Josh.
All right. All right, moving right along. Okay, so Jaime touched about UKI. They do the schoolyard sessions. They also work with us as coaches. Okay. If you're a returning coach, we've had for the past few seasons, we've got a lot of great feedback from our coaches who have utilized this UKI program. In a nutshell, what they do is they'll host seminars twice a week. The days are probably going to be Mondays and Wednesdays. And kind of how this is going to look is, I don't know, Coach Carlos wants to sign up for a UCAS seminar on Monday. So what he'll do is him and his team will go to the Vintage Reserve Field where the UKI sessions are going to be held, and that UKI coach will reach out to Carlos and say, okay, Carlos, what do you want to work on with your team this day? And Carlos says, oh, I want to work on striking, or ball control or defense or whatever the case may be. And they'll build a training plan based on what you tell them. And they'll come and they'll either run your practice for you, or they'll run your practice with you. Okay. And so the idea here is to help you as coaches become even better coaches, especially if you're a newer coach or not really sure. That they're there to give you like a different perspective, a different opinion, different verbiage sometimes, to help you kind of build your coaching skills and build your coaching arsenal. Okay. Give you some ideas for drills and activities for your players and all that stuff. So really, you should take advantage of this UKI program. They're awesome people. They're super fun to work with. And obviously they know what they're doing. This is a national program. These guys live, eat, drink, and breathe soccer from the time they can crawl on the all fours. Okay. So they know soccer, utilize them. They're going to help you become better coaches. And they do run really great training sessions based on the parameters that you set. So a little bit more about UKI. The start date is TBD. We'll let you know very soon. We're ironing out those details now. Like I said, likely these sessions are going to be Mondays and Wednesdays at Vintage Reserve Park, which is a park right behind Buchanan Elementary, if you're not familiar with Vintage Reserve. Typically it's 3 sessions per day, 1 hour each. 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 is the start times. That might be skewed a little bit before the time change, just simply due to lack of daylight right now. So like I said, all those details will be ironed out very soon, and we will be sending you that info as soon as we get it finalized. And there's a sign up sheet that we'll send out as well, so you can, you know, put your name in, reserve your day and time, and that's when you're going to have your practice session with the UKI coaches. All right. Oh, who's that handsome devil? Ooh, that's me. All right. So there's me. This is my info. All of you should have been getting my emails. If you haven't been getting my emails, you please reach out to me here so I can make sure I'm sending the information to where it needs to go. And if you have any questions, coach related or anything else, feel free to reach out to me. I will either answer the questions for you or find someone who can. So that's it for me for now. Chucking right back along, Mr. Carlos Torres.
It's me again, guys. Go ahead, Heyman. So, as well as being the volunteer coordinator, I'm also the competitive play coordinator. The vision that I want, that I've talked about with the board members, is that I want to grow our program or competitive. So we have the core level, right, which is just the basic level, and then we have 2 other levels that we could potentially continue to grow. One which only happens in the spring, which is called Spring Select. Basically, the way you got to look at it, it's all stars versus all stars. So it's all stars from our region versus all stars from another region. This Spring Select program again only happens in the spring. We usually decide on that right at the end of the fall season, who the coach is going to be. Coaches have to apply and be approved by the board to be the select coach for that age group in that division. And then that coach, the advantage of select is that they get to pick players they want on their team. There's no trials that need to be held. They can if they want to, but they don't have to hold trials. They can just pick the players. They do have to be primarily, depending on the division, primarily from the fall season. The younger divisions have to be 100% from the fall season. The older divisions, I believe, 16U, I guess it's just 16U. They can add players that have, as long as they played in previous seasons in AYSO. It is a ton of fun, and we want to continue to grow it. Now, again, because everyone is on AYSO, the hard part about growing that program is that it has to take a very dedicated, very willing volunteer to volunteer their time, because it is extra work, right? It's extra practices, and it has to be someone that is very knowledgeable when it comes to soccer. Because again, we're developing these all-stars versus other all-stars, and we need to have them continue to grow, right? So look for that. That program is actually in effect right now. We're in the spring season. We actually have 5 teams this season, which is really, really good, in different age groups. And next year, hopefully, we can maybe double that, right? So again, it's going to take volunteers first to get coaches that are willing to do it, and then making sure that we have the kids that are taking it serious, because the select program has to be someone or kids that are very focused on playing soccer. And the way I think about it, and I try to sell it to parents and sell it to coaches and to our region, is it's kind of like a club-like experience at an AYSO price, right? So it's a huge thing to have in our region, and it's a really good program that we again want to continue to develop. Go ahead, Jaime. Sorry, Josh. Now, on top of that, there's a third level, right? So there's a core level, and then there's a Spring Select level, which Spring Select, again, is only in the spring. And then the next level is the extra program. And I'm not going to lie, the extra program is very, very competitive. It is club-like level, if not more than club-like level program. Again, at an AYSO price, so that's a huge advantage there. But it does take committed players that are just completely focused on soccer, love soccer, eat and sleep soccer, watch soccer all the time. I mean, they just committed, and not only the kids, but also the parents, right? Because the parents are the ones going to have to take them to practices. It is travel I forgot to mention, Select is travel also. It is a travel program where you end up traveling anywhere from 1 to potentially up to 3 hours to wherever you're going to play. So it does take a special family to be able to do that. But again, families that want to have their kids go in the club don't need to spend that kind of money. They can just go in our extra program. But again, we do need to get the coaches. We do need to get the volunteers to be able to help us do that. Extra program is a little different because again, the coach has to be approved by the board, but the players are not picked by the coach. The players come out for tryouts. It's required for them to come at tryouts. So we hold a tryout. It's an open tryout. Anyone can come try out as long as they're within that division. And then a committee of either board members or coaches will decide who is going to be on the team. So we evaluate them on 4 key different categories. We run them through 4 or 5 different drills over a span of 2 to 3 days of tryouts, and then we form a team to represent our region in this extra program. It is super fun. I've coached extra many years, many seasons. My son has now decided not to play soccer anymore. He's aging out as well. But it is a great program for our region. And again, we want to continue to grow. So if you as coaches are interested, I know there's some coaches that have coached in other regions or coach in other programs or even coach high school or whatever. Please reach out to me and let me know. And definitely interested, like I said, in growing the program. I would love to have an extra program or extra coach in every division, both boys and girls, in 10U, 12U, 14U. Those are divisions that can start. Actually, our section is trying to develop a 9U program, so I'm not sure where we're at on that, but definitely right now we can do 10U, 12U, and 14U, both boys and girls. Last year, unfortunately, we only had an 11U boys. We only had one division, but we definitely want to grow it. The other thing is extra is a year-long program or a 10 to 11-month program. It goes from fall to the end of spring. So basically it goes from, I want to say October, September, all the way through June and July. Again, it's just like club, but at an AYSO price. That's the best way I can describe it. And I always promised the kids that played for me that if they stayed with me in extra, I would guarantee them that they would make it to the high school team. That's as far as I would take them. And I think I'm batting 100% right now. So they're doing really, really well. So those kids, but they worked hard, man. I worked them really, really hard. And actually, a picture of them. Those are some of my kids right there. But they did phenomenal and stuff. So
Yeah. Well,
but
you're an amazing coach, Carlos. So that had a lot to do
well,
with it.
thank you for that, Josh. Go ahead. Is there one more slide? I think.
No, no, no.
That's it. If you have any questions about the extra program, feel free to reach out to me. Again, as a coach or even as a parent, if you want your kid to be on, reach out to me. And it's never too early to talk about it. But yeah, we definitely want to develop that program even further. So thank you.
I would even
All right.
think, Carlos, like you were saying a second ago, if they are interested, probably start reaching out to you probably as soon as possible if they have some sort of interest for the extra program, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, it takes a special kind of coach to dedicate their time and do it for the kids, right? Because that's what we do, because no one gets paid for it. The difference in club and extra is in club they get paid, and extra we they're all volunteers, right? So I did it for the kids, and I hope and I know that they all appreciate the fact that I dedicate my time to improving them. So not just my only child or my child only, but also them, right? So but yeah, it's fun.
Right. Perfect. So some quick additional information and reminders. Thank you, Carlos. That was awesome. As always. Jaime, you want to do this?
Yeah, I could do the next ones. I'll give you a break, man.
All right.
So real quick, everybody, I know we've kind of mentioned some of this stuff already, but just important reminders. So AYSO, we provide you uniforms. So that includes jerseys, shorts, and socks. And by the way, since this is a coaches meeting, we mentioned this during the parent meeting, but what we're going to do, we are going to provide you, the coaches, the actual uniforms themselves. So as a board, we do not provide them to the parents. It's a responsibility of the coaches for you guys to reach out to the parents and then figure out a time and a place to figure all that stuff out. If I were to tell any of you guys one thing, as far as giving out uniforms, the best thing you could possibly do is make sure all the kids show up on the same day to give out these uniforms, because what ends up happening is these uniforms are sized from, let's say, for example, 2 tends to be the smallest set. the smallest set. And then all of a sudden up until like, let's say 13, 11, 12, 13, whatever the highest number ends up being, that's the larger sizes, right? So what you want to do as a coach, you want to get all your kids together. You want to get them to, go shoulder to shoulder from shortest or smallest to tallest. And then that's how you figure out a way to kind of give each player their size. If you don't do that and you end up giving the parents out the uniforms all willy-nilly and not really thinking about it, you're going to have several parents out there who are going to say, my uniform doesn't fit my child. What do we do? And then it's going to present a giant problem for the region. So highly recommended that you make sure every single one of your kids is with you so you can provide them their uniforms in the way I mentioned before, shoulder to shoulder, smallest to the tallest, and then kind of figure it out from there, 2 being the smallest and the higher number being the biggest. Like I mentioned before, players are absolutely required to wear shin guards. They got to wear them underneath their socks. And by the way, coaches, this goes for practices, this goes for games. They have to have their shin guards, or they cannot practice, they cannot play in the games. And by the way, the shin guards need to be touching their skin and have to be underneath their socks, and referees will notice that. We are basically trained to look for that, and if we notice that the kids are wearing their sock, and then they put the shin guard on, and then they try to put the sock over the shin guard, we're going to ask that the child go back to the parent and redo it, right? It's a little bit of a safety concern. We want to make sure that the sock doesn't start kind of peeling up, because at some point, if there's any part of the shin guard that's kind of poking out, it could be a possible injury if something happens on the field. They fall on each other, and whatever the case may be. So it's a safety thing. So please make sure to be aware of that. Soccer balls, 8U and below, size 3, 10U and 12U division, size 4, 14U and above, size 5. Water, please, 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 coaches, remind your parents, tons of water, especially when it starts getting hot. A lot of times you will not believe how often the kids show up without water. Keep in mind, at the board tents, we are going to have water and Gatorades, and those are meant for you guys. Those are meant for the coaches, and those are meant for the referees a lot of times to kind of help them out, help you guys out. It's not meant for the kids. Now, keep in mind, if any kid comes up to the board tent and asks for water, we're not going to say no, but please remind your kids please remind your parents to send the kids with lots of water. Some bullet points on things that are absolutely not allowed. Remind your parents of this, please, 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 because the referees, again, will pay attention to this. No jewelry, no earrings, no watches, no necklaces on the hair, nothing hard. It can only be soft, no beads. There are going to be no exceptions to those rules, right? So if the referees are out there and they notice any of these things, they will tell the players that they have to take them off, or they will absolutely positively will not play. It doesn't matter how upset the parents get, they will not play. Medical alert bracelets are the only exception. Those are going to be considered okay. No sunglasses unless they're prescription. So if one of your kids on your team has prescription sunglasses, that's completely okay. The referees will ask them though on the field, and as long as they are prescription, that's completely fine. No cast or splints at all. Even if they're padded. So even if someone tries to wrap something around it, that is not going to be okay. If they notice that, if the referees notice that, they will not be allowed to play. And U.S. coaches, if you notice that, you should not allow them to play or practice either, right? It's up to you guys as coaches to make sure that doesn't happen. Soft braces, completely soft, are okay. With the approval from the referee. The referee will kind of touch them to make sure everything is okay, but as long as there's no metal inserts or anything of that nature, that'll be fine. By the way, one quick thing, earrings. So I know I mentioned that already, but things like nose rings, or even like, nose rings, those will not be allowed. You can't put tape over it. You can't put tape over the nose ring. You can't put tape over the earring. It does not matter. We will ask the player to go back to the parent and take off the ring, or they just simply will not be allowed to play. So keep that in mind. We take that very, very seriously. Go ahead, Josh.
Perfect. And so this one's more for me, I think.
Oh, go for it.
So equipment for new coaches. It shouldn't say new coaches only. Anybody who needs equipment. So new coaches, I kind of I'll hook you up with a little starter set. A couple soccer balls, a little ball pump, a nice mesh bag to carry our stuff around, and a set of cones, and a small set of disc markers. So it's a great starter kit for you to get going. So any of you coaches that need that, especially if you're new coaches, you probably will. Let me know. I'll make sure I'll get that equipment to you. If you're a returning coach and you need equipment, I don't know, half of your cones got stolen, or your balls are shot, or whatever it is that you need, let me know. Okay, I have quite a bit of stuff in my arsenal. So if you come across something that you need, feel free to go buy it, but if I have it and you need it, it's yours. So you just got to reach out to me about that stuff. For Schoolyard and Epic, all of the equipment is provided at the fields. We keep it in the trailer. So Schoolyard and Epic coaches do not need to worry about purchasing equipment unless you want something special on your own. Okay, so that's equipment. And then, Jaime, you want to kick in?
Yeah, let's do it. Home games at AYSO 1463. Oh, well, look at that, Josh. We left VIP in there. So this includes Epic and Schoolyard. That's I know I missed it too, man. I failed. So home games, and then Epic, and then Schoolyard. Epic we got to talk about, but anyway, a majority of that will be Torrey Pines Park. For a lot of you coaches out there, obviously that's the park that we always go to. For anybody who's brand new, who's never worked with us, so Torrey Pines Park is right next door. It's the actual field itself belongs to Warm Springs Middle School, right? But the actual entrance to get into their parking lot is through Torrey Pines Park. So keep that in mind. If you punch in Warm Springs Middle School, it'll probably take you to the front and you'll get lost. You got to punch in the Torrey Pines Road address, and that'll take you to the right spot. So practices AYSO 1463. A majority of the coaches will select Torrey Pines Park. Josh, I know you're probably going to talk about this way more in a little bit, but there are several other parks that are available. Vintage Reserve, which is one of the parks that you talked about, Josh, earlier. Vintage Reserve, is a heads up to you guys, that's by Buchanan Elementary. If you don't know where that's at, that's right down the street. It's basically almost on the same street as Torrey Pines Park, maybe no more than a 5-minute drive. I mean, it's really, really, really close by. And then there are other surrounding parks. A lot of the park information is on our website if you need to find it. And Josh will share all that stuff with you as well. I mentioned this a second ago. List of parks and addresses are available on the website. So yeah, there you go. And again, Josh will share a lot of that information with you guys very, very soon.
Perfect.
And as far as this is concerned, game day home and away side. So keep this in mind, coaches. Again, a lot of you, if you coached with us before, you'll know from last season. But if you don't know and you're brand new this season, obviously with every single game, your team will either be the home team or your team will be the away team, right? And when you're walking onto the field, if your team for the week is the home team, the way you remember it is the home side is always the side of the field that's closest to the parking lot. So as you're entering from the parking lot, if you are the home team, then your side where your parents are going to sit is closest to the parking lot. If you're the away team, it's going to be on the opposite end, furthest away from the parking lot. And then spectator seating, this is a little bit different. If some select program team coaches are on here, and 14U and 16U divisions, actually you guys did this last season. If your select program, so if it's 10U select, 12U select, 14U select, 16U select, and also the 14U and 16U core, the spectators, make sure to let your parents know that they have to sit to the left of the assistant referee. So if you see the assistant referee on one side of the field, the parents and the spectators need to sit to the left of the coaches and the technical area, right? So that's on both sides. So keep that in mind. That's not for every single core. That is only for 10U select, 12U select, 14U select, 16U select, and then 14U core and 16U core. If you're anybody else, 6U, 8U, 10U, just core program teams, you're okay. The parents can sit all throughout the sidelines. So we'll send you guys reminders of this. It's a tiny bit confusing, but we'll figure it out. Next up.
Right. All right. Practice field reservation. So coaches, this is important to all of you. Carlos and I are going to be sending out an email to all of you with kind of a little questionnaire that you just fill out indicating your practice days and times requests. Keep in mind that these requests will be granted on a first come, first served basis with the caveat that any coaches that are coaching multiple teams will take priority as far as the requests go. I can't stress this enough, coaches. Please be flexible due to limited field space and availability. We only have so much field space. We have a lot of coaches, a lot of teams in certain divisions, 10U especially, and only one 10U field. I think we have 12 10U core teams and a 10U select team. With one 10U field that we have to try and spread out throughout the course of a practice week with all of you doing 2 1-hour practices a week. Okay, so we'll probably, don't be surprised if we ask maybe do one practice at our home field and another practice maybe at another park like Vintage Reserve or something like that. Okay, put those requests in. We will grant. I mean, we'll work with you as much as we possibly can, but you guys just be prepared to be flexible. This is going to be hard to schedule everyone and give everyone what they want. Also keep in mind, coaches, that Tuesdays and Thursdays are by far the most popular days. They are going to fill up the fastest. So if you're flexible enough to do like a Monday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Friday practice or something along those lines, that's going to make your requests much, much more easier to fulfill. Okay, Tuesdays and Thursdays are without question the busiest. And I get it. I understand why. But if you're able to do like a Wednesday, Friday, or a Monday, Wednesday, that'll make things a lot easier as far as getting you the time and the field space that you're looking for. Like Jaime said in the previous slide, other fields are available. There's a list of approved fields on our website on the coaches portal. You are not allowed to hold AYSO practices at any other location other than approved fields. Okay, if there's a field that's close to you or whatever that you really like, it's awesome. We got to go through the process. So reach out to Jaime or myself or Carlos, and we'll see if we can get permits for that field. It is a bit of a process, but hey, we'll try. If we get approved, then look, we got another practice field we can use. Okay, but for now, the approved field list is on our website. Those are the only locations that are authorized. Your coach binder, which you'll get at the coach meet and greet. Every AYSO function that you do, you have to have that coach binder with you on your person. Okay, keep it in your cart or whatever. It needs to be on the field with you for all practices and all games. Okay, it has the players' safety release sheets in it. I don't even know if that's what they're called. What are they called, Jaime?
Sorry, say that last line again.
The players' sheets that are in the coach binder.
The medical release forms. The
medical release forms. That's what I said. See, yeah. So the medical release forms are there in the event of an injury or something. We have to have those forms on our person. You know, in the unfortunate event, maybe an ambulance needs to come and take them away or something like that. We have to have those forms. So it's important you have those binders with you at all times. Okay. Training plans. So especially new coaches or even old coaches, this is a great resource for you. I've never coached soccer before, Josh. I don't know what to do my first practice. Look, it's here for you. Go to our coach portal, click on your age division, and there is just a plethora of training plans that are already there for you. They're already filled out. They're labeled by topic, you know, passing, dribbling, shooting, defense, whatever it is. Click on one, read about it, find one you like, and bam, your practice training plan is at your fingertips. Okay, so tons and tons of information here and resources as far as what you can do with your players. If you notice, you know, my players just aren't good ball handlers. Okay, well, go find a training plan that works on ball handling or dribbling, and it's there for you. Utilize it. Okay, so ton of information here for you guys. Okay, Carlos, you want to get the game cards? Are you still with us? There you are.
Yeah, I'm still here. So real quick on the game card. So every game has to have, oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. Every 8U game and above has to have a referee game card. We will provide this for you. We will give you the link on our website. I'll email it to you. I'll text it to you. Josh will email it to you as well. I'll even go even further. I will even print it out for you for the entire season. I will do that for you as long as you provide me the information. But anyways, the game card has to be filled out before your game. It's a card that you give to the referees, and then the referee will then use that card to check in your players for, first of all, for safety, to make sure that they're have all the appropriate equipment, pin guards, no jewelry, and any stuff like that. And then also check in the players to make sure those kids are actually on your roster. The only thing you have to do as a coach when you submit it to the referee, and again, this is before your game, is the blue highlighted section. That's the only thing you fill out. Substitutions or, you know, when people sit out or anything like that, let the referee do that. They're the ones who have to fill out when that occurs. All you do is fill out who the head coach is, the date, the time, team name, who your assistant coach is, and then you put your players in numerical order for their jersey numbers, first and last name. And that's it. And then the referee will do the rest. I created a little video on the website. It'll show you how to fill it out. It's about 7 minutes long if you need instructions on it. And again, we will provide the game ref cards for you. We'll either email it to you, or like I said, I will even print them out for you. I'm going to send you a link. You fill out your information once you get your uniforms and your kids get their uniforms, write down their numbers and their names, and then put it on this link I'm going to send you. And then I will print them out for you. And on game 1, March 11th, I'll have the entire season there for you so you can use it. You don't even have to worry about it anymore. And that's it, I think.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. We're moving right along. We're getting there. I promise, coaches. We're trucking along. We're making good time. So a couple of quick reminders. Okay, having a parent meeting is critical, and what a parent meeting is kind of your first face-to-face interaction with your parents as a team. A lot of coaches do it on their first practice day. You know, hey parents, make sure you're all there with your kids, and maybe take the last 10 or 15 minutes of that practice and have this meeting with your parents. Explain to them your expectations. You know, this is where you can hand out those parent pledge forms if you decide to do so. This is where they're going to have all the questions about when's our first game. You know, how is this going to work? What's this question about? This, that, and the other thing. This is also your recruiting opportunity. Okay, find an assistant coach if you don't have one. Get someone to help you out. Find some people to step up to be referees, like Carlos talked about earlier. And I highly suggest getting a team manager. Having a team manager is amazing. Okay, they can basically be the one that communicates with the team, and you communicate with the team manager. You talk to one person, they talk to everyone else. They can handle snack schedules. They can handle the end of season team parties. They can handle fundraising for banners or the end of season team party. They can do all that for you, and you're already doing enough as a coach. You're doing a lot as a coach. We put a lot on your plate as a coach, so enlist the help of your parents. And having this team parent meeting, that's why it's so critical. Get your expectations laid out, and you can get help recruiting from your parent base. Okay, so another reminder about team banners. Picture day is March 5th, and banners are optional. Carlos just went over game cards. Make sure you come to your games prepared. Have your game card ready. Also have your game plan ready. Know your substitutions. Who's sitting out first quarter? Who's sitting out second quarter? Where's Johnny playing? You know, throughout the course of the game, and everyone else on your roster. Don't be the coach that's trying to figure out substitutions on the fly, because there's just no time for that. The games go by too fast. So be prepared. Have your game plan ready. Carlos also sends out a great sheet. It's like an Excel spreadsheet where you just type in the names and put them in the position, and it prints it out for you. So you have a visual, basically layout of the field and all the players in their positions for each quarter. Okay. Always support the kids zone. And we talked about reserving practice times. An email is going to be sent out. Just fill out that kind of survey looking thing and reply back to it. It'll be timestamped, so we know who answered first. And the other authorized fields are on our website that we talked about earlier. So Jaime, I think this is you.
Josh, can I interrupt you for a second? Yeah, can you go back, Josh? Yeah, so on the reserving the practice space and time. So I'm gonna text it to you and I'm gonna email it to you. Okay. It's like a Google form survey. It's gonna ask you a few questions, and some of the questions are your practice days and times. Because of daylight savings times, right now it gets dark like by 5:45, 6 o'clock. So we have limited time where we can actually put people for times that they can practice. After March 11th or March 12th, sorry, daylight saving times occurs, and then it'll be daylight till like 7:30, 7:45. So we'll have more time. So in this Google form survey, where I'm going to ask you to put in the days that you want to practice and the times you want to practice, it's going to ask you for two requests. One for the next 2 weeks, and one for after daylight savings times. Okay, so please make sure you do that. And then it's also going to ask you a bunch of other information that we need: your shirt size. We need a picture of you so that we can put a face to the name. And then it's going to remind you of a few pointers and stuff, whatever. So it'll take you like 5 minutes to fill it out. Again, it's going to be very, very crucial you do this sooner rather than later, because it is going to be first come, first serve. It is timestamped. So whoever requests practice day first and time first will be the first one to get it. unless you have two teams, you obviously go to the priority and stuff. And Josh, did you say you wanted me to send it right after the meeting, or you want me to send it tomorrow morning?
Sure. You know what? Do it in the morning.
Okay, so
Uh,
I will send it out at 8 o'clock in the morning. It will be emailed out and texted out to everybody. So everyone will get it at 8 a.m. And as soon as you get it, I would suggest you fill it out. Okay, because that'll be again, it'll be first come, first serve when it comes to the practice times and the fields days. Okay, go
awesome.
ahead. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you, Carlos.
Awesome. I'll try to speed through this a little bit. I know it's starting to get a little late. All right. So Commissioner's Cup, even though this seems a little self-serving. So we started this Commissioner's Cup a couple years ago. It is our big end of year tournament. We make it an event. We make it a celebration. It's for 8U division, 10U division, 12U division, and 14U divisions. And it ends up being a lot of fun. It ends up being like an end of season celebration, right? So for those divisions, is as long as, like Carlos was mentioning earlier, as long as you guys did a great job with your volunteer points and you guys satisfied all the criteria, you're invited. You're in. You can play, right? And by the way, just one quick other note on the volunteer point stuff. I know it looked like a lot a second ago, coaches, when you saw the list. Carlos promises you, I promise you, Josh it's really not. It's really not. And you can even ask some of the older coaches who've been around. It doesn't take a whole lot, especially when you get your parents involved. It really doesn't take a whole lot to get it all done. So you should be good. So as a heads up to you guys, the Commissioner's Cup will take place on 2 days. So, well, 2 days for some. So Saturday, May 20th, that's going to be day one, and that's going to feature a lot of elimination games. So everybody who was invited, you guys are going to play some games. And as long as you get past that set of games, you will then move on to the championship day, which is Sunday, 5/21, which is, again, both days, lots of fun, tons of vendors. We make it into this big event, which is going to be great. And then last little bullet point right there, for any of the 14U and 16U division teams, the champions of those divisions. So say, for example, for 14U, that's going to be the winner of the Commissioner's Cup. For 16U, the division champion will be whoever has the best record for the year, but also whoever has their volunteer points as well. If they got to make sure they have their volunteer points. You will also be a part of an end the season tournament in June in another location. We're talking right now potentially about having it in Paris or in Menifee, actually in Menifee, but it's not 100%. It's still TBD. So, but that's a lot of fun too, and we'll keep you posted on that very soon. Right, region recognition pins. I know one of our coaches was asking about this. So we do this every single year, every single season. It's proved to be very successful. It puts a lot of smiles on kids' faces, and it helps tremendously. So what this is for 6U divisions and up, we end up providing what's called a recognition pin, right? And these recognition pins, what ends up happening is, now I'm going to talk specifically about 8U and up. 6U I'll talk about in a second. 8U and up, what we end up doing is we will ask each coach to be on the lookout for one player on the opposite team. And just based on the theme for the week. So say, for example, team player is all about a player on that team that seemed like he was all about the team, right? All about sportsmanship, right? Or the theme could be about hustle. Maybe that player was just, he or she may not have scored at all, but you could tell he or she was trying their hearts out, right? Or invincible. It could be that player was just unstoppable, was scoring every goal, MVP of the game. So every single week, it's one of those three different themes. So we ask you guys as coaches to be on the lookout for one player on the opposite team. And then at the very end of the game, once we've kind of said our thank yous after the game is over, the referees will kind of give a little speech, and then they'll ask the coaches to say a few words as far as like, okay, on this other team, I saw this one child, this child did incredible, you win the recognition pin, and then the other coach does the same. And by the way, if you're kind of curious as to why we end up doing it, the other coach from the opposite team, it ends up meaning a lot more to the kid. I remember even my own son and sons who end up getting one of these pins, I think to the kids, it means a lot more that somebody who's kind of a stranger, somebody who they don't work with at all, recognizes them. It means more to them, right? So that's part of it. So going back to 6U, if you're a 6U coach, it's a little tiny bit different, and you should be aware of this. If you're a 6U coach, each player on your team should get at least one pin. Right? So you got to make sure to keep track, and it's going to be up to you. It's not going to be a situation where you're looking out for the other team. 6U division coaches, you are giving your pin to your own team, and you're recognizing one player in your team, and you're making sure that by the end of the season, each one of your team players gets one. Right? So keep that in mind. Be aware that 6U division coaches. 8U and above, that's all gone. It really boils down to whoever earns it, whoever deserves it, that's who gets it. Right. So be aware of that. Now, heads up, anybody who's a schoolyard coach, if you're wondering why we don't do pins for schoolyard, unfortunately, that they're just a little too young. Every single season when we try to do schoolyard, you would give the pin to the one child, that child would be laughing and going crazy, and the other children would be crying and upset the rest of the time. So we realized at that point they're a little bit too young to get those pins. So we're just going to make sure to do it from 6U and up. Yeah, and that's it for region recognition pins.
Perfect. Thanks, Jaime. So upcoming events, some important events coming up. Okay, so contact with your parents as soon as you get your rosters. Make that contact ASAP. Okay, make sure you call them, get on the phone with them, get their contact information like we spoke about on an earlier slide. Practices begin the week of Monday, February 27th. Crap, that's next week. Oh man. Our coaches will need to request and reserve practice date and times. You will get a confirmation email from me when I have you on the schedule and your practice dates and times are confirmed. Okay, so that'll all be done, of course, before Monday 27th. Location. So we have approved parks and of course our home park. Jaime talked about uniforms. We're going to give them to you. You guys will distribute them to the players. Excuse me. Picture day, Sunday, March 5th. We mentioned that a few times too. Each team will have their own time slot. So when that information comes, be prepared. You're going to have your own time slot. Make sure you show up early with all your players dressed, looking sharp in their uniforms. Game schedule distribution. More information to come soon. The final game schedule is generally one of the last things that gets finalized. Okay, so I know you guys are going to be asking, when do we get the game schedule? When do we get the game schedule? You'll get it. It's usually about a week before the season starts, maybe 4 or 5 days before the first game. Okay, so just be patient. When it's finalized, we'll definitely get it out to you. We talked about the Epic Schoolyard and Core Division schedules, and keep in mind, no AYSO activities for the weekend of March 18th because we have an Expo event, and of course April 8th for Easter weekend. The meet and greet. Okay, so here's the times for your division. Okay, schoolyard, 8U, 10U, it's all there. Make sure when you're talking to your parents, you invite them to this meet and greet. This is their chance to meet you and you to meet them. You're going to get eyes on your players for the first time, your parents for the first time. They'll be able to ask you questions, all that stuff. You can kind of get to know them. There'll also be a 20% coupon that'll be sent out to all of you. So, if they need any gear or new shin guards or cleats or whatever, they can utilize that coupon and get the stuff there at Dick's Sporting Goods. So make sure you're sending that information to your parents. For the Epic program, your Epic coordinator will reach out to you soon as far as a meet and greet, because I believe they're doing a separate event. Is that right, Jaime?
That's right, absolutely. So, but the one thing that the Epic we want to let you know as well, and it was in the next bullet point, you are more than welcome to come. So Epic program, spring select teams, and our extra team, join in on the fun. Feel free to come down. You guys will get the coupon. It is for anybody and everybody to show up. So feel free to let your kids know that they can join in on the fun as well.
Perfect. Yes, definitely. And then spring select teams, I think you just mentioned that. For the 9:30 time slot, so schoolyard and 6U, you have to enter via the parking lot. Okay, you can't go through the mall and the Dick's Sporting Goods because the mall entrance is closed until 10. So you have to go through the main front door entrance of Dick's Sporting Goods.
So then real quick, Josh, if you don't mind me interrupting real fast, just a couple extra bullet points for you guys, for coaches. Number one, and we have this issue every season, and it's because we fail to let you guys know. So even though the time frame says, like, say, for example, 9:30 or 10:30 or 11:30, please, coaches, make sure to get there at least 15 to 20 minutes earlier, right? Because a lot of times, even though it says 10:30, maybe something happens, maybe you're running a little bit late, and then you end up getting there at about 10:45, and then the board is scrambling to kind of figure things out and talk to parents, and they start getting a little upset. So do us a favor as coaches. If your time frame is 10:30 or 9:30 or 11, get there 15 to 20 minutes. It would absolutely be appreciated, big time. And then another thing, Josh, just as a heads up, coach hoodies. It'd be really great if we gave out the coach hoodies that we got for them to wear at the meet and greet. Yeah, can we bring those? Oh, we'll have to get them from you because I don't think you'll be able to be there in the morning.
Probably not. but I'm in the works on that. But yeah, I can make sure they're in somebody's hands for sure.
Okay. So I would love, we got these awesome hoodies for you guys. We would love to give them to you so that way you're wearing them at the actual event on Saturday. So that's another reason why to show up a little bit earlier as well. So we're going to try and make that happen. Although it's going to be rough. I know it's going to be raining this weekend, so that's going to be tricky. So that'll be fun. But by the way, rain or shine, and I was going to send an email out to the region about this tomorrow. Rain or shine, obviously, it's an indoor thing, so this is happening for sure. And then another important thing, if you cannot make it to this, please, please, please let Carlos know, let Josh know as soon as possible. We really, really would love for you to be there. It's super important for these parents to get to see you and shake your hands and say hello. But if for whatever reason you have plans, you can't make it, please let Carlos and Josh know as soon as you can. That way we're aware, and that way we can kind of sit in your place and talk to the parents on your behalf. And that's it for me, Josh.
Right. And on that note, if you can't make it, still tell your parents to come. They should still come. There's going to be a lot of other coaches there. There's going to be us there as board members to be able to answer their questions that they're probably going to have. So if you can't come, try and get an assistant coach to come, or a team manager if you have one already. Somebody to represent your team would be amazing. But if none of those options are available, still encourage your parents and your players to show up. And they can still use that coupon and get the gear. And obviously they'll be able to meet all of us and get any questions answered. Okay. So trucking right along, I promise we're almost at the end. All right. So soccer camps. So these are a little bit different than what we talked about as far as the coaching sessions. These are actual, soccer camps that the UKI coaches run. They're amazing programs. They have morning sessions, which is like a half day, and also full day sessions available. These are the dates. And so you can sign your kid up. It gets them extra skill development, extra training with a really well-established program. So that's that for UKI. And then Jaime, I think this is going to be you. We're finishing up.
Wrap it up. All right. So real quick. And real fast. I know you talked about the camps a second ago, Josh. You might have mentioned this. I was kind of answering a question and I spaced off. So yes, absolutely. Those UKI soccer camps. There, as you probably read a second ago, there was one in April during Marietta's spring break.
There we go.
Yeah, and there's one in June, one in July. Those are separate. Like, you would have to go to its own website, but keep in mind, you can go to our website to find the information as far as a link as to where to go. The camps are awesome. I have my kids do it every single year during the summertime. Feel free to absolutely sign up. They do a really, really good job. So please do. Sorry, I went back to older information. Feel free to keep going back, Josh.
No, perfect. So there we go.
And Eden Fundraiser. So we're going to send you some information on this soon. You guys and the parents, please spread the word. Again, as you guys know, we are a non-profit organization, right? None of us get paid, and what we end up doing as an organization is we try to make sure to keep our costs, like the registration costs, as low as we can for you guys, because we know a lot of clubs out there are extremely expensive. So we try to keep it as low as we can, but also trying to kind of get a tiny bit of money that would help take care of uniforms or better hire, better uniforms, better medals, better equipment, whatever the case may be. So we as an organization don't get a lot of funding in regards to that. So that's where we're going to do Eden fundraisers. So from time to time, we'll send you guys an email. We're going to let you know that on a certain day, maybe Carl's Jr., for example, on a certain day and a certain time, if you go to Carl's Jr. and you buy a meal, we will get a very small percentage back to the region. So even though it seems like a little teeny tiny bit, maybe a 10% kickback, I mean, any little bit helps our nonprofits. So when we send these out to you, please do your best to kind of communicate these to your parents and let them know, please, do your best to kind of help out AYSO 1463.
Perfect.
And oh my God, from now on, I got to remove all these words. So sponsorships, this is another way for us to get fundraising, right? We need all the fundraising we can get, funds we can get, so that way we can improve year after year, season after season, and make a better program for you guys, right? And little by little, it's happening, which is awesome. So if you guys are interested, you guys as coaches, maybe you work for a certain company, or maybe you have parents on your team that might work for a certain company that might want to do sponsorship. absolutely positively let us know. We've worked with companies like Panera and Catalyst and Shakey's Pizza, and then this year we're working with Buffalo Wild Wings. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a big giant name like, Shakey's Pizza and Panera Bread or anything like that. It could be anybody. It could be any sponsor. And we provide incentives based on how much you're willing to give, right? And all of that is on our website. If you go to our website, you look up sponsorships, there's a ton of information as far as like what you can give and what you would get back as a sponsor from us, right? So keep that in mind. If you know anybody, please let us know. I mean, the more funds we can raise, the better our program will be for future seasons, right? Soccer.com, again, another fundraiser. Just a heads up, and we were telling the parents about this as well, and we'll let you know. This is where you could get custom gear. They got t-shirts, they got sweatshirts, they got pants, they got soccer balls, they got a ton of stuff. And on top of that, you can customize this stuff, right? So you can make it have our logo, or you can have it say things like stay in the game or soccer.com or whatever you want it. Well, not whatever you want to say, there are certain templates, but you can make it actually, you could customize it in different ways and different colors. So if you're interested, if you want to start getting some AYSO 1463 gear, so you're out there in the field supporting the kids and supporting the regions, you absolutely can. It's a great, they have some great clothing that we ourselves have bought and wear out there as well. The only caveat, and I want to let you guys know, the only bummer about soccer.com is it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get to you. So if you guys are thinking about getting some gear, I would highly recommend you probably work on it right now, because it will take about 2 to 3 weeks for it to get to your place. So that is also on our website. If you go to 1463, or I'm sorry, AYSO1463.org, you are going to see a link on the right-hand side that says custom fan wear or something to that effect. Feel free to hit that link and you should be able to find it. We briefly talked about this, but social media is super important. If you haven't signed up for a social media, absolutely positively do. Not only do we post as many pictures of your kids as we can, a lot of times with the development pin winners or just pictures in general as far as them out there playing their games, or pictures of you guys as coaches or referees. We try to make sure we keep you guys happy and make sure that we're all a community. But more importantly, we also post a lot of news and information on those sites, right? So anything in terms of like, hey, there's going to be coach certification days, there's going to be referee courses upcoming, right? A lot of that information, yes, we try to send it in email form, but a lot of that info gets sent out through Facebook and Instagram. Twitter, not as much, so I wouldn't recommend Twitter, but definitely follow Facebook and Instagram so you can get the latest news and information. And here's our contact list. This information is on our website as well. If you go to AYSO1463.org, one of the main buttons on the banners simply says contacts. If you hit that, you will see this exact list. So don't feel the need to like memorize this, but we're here to help you. The only thing I would recommend as coaches, or even to tell your parents, is if there's a certain question they have, it would be awesome if they can kind of gear it towards that person, right? So say, for example, if it's something coach related, they would email Josh since he's a coach administrator. If it's something referee related, they would email Morrow. If it's something registration related, they would email Brian Nielsen. Carlos for anything volunteer related, Omar if there's issues and concerns about the fields. And then Steve, of course, if there's any questions in regard to referee assessments and anything else referee related. So, all of us are here. Everybody else, Carl, Leanne, everybody else is here. Obviously, I'm here as well. But if you can direct those specifically to those people in terms of their disciplines, that would be fantastic.
Sweet.
Josh, I'll leave the last words to you, my friend.
All right, man. Well, we made it through. And that was a good time too. That was a lot of information that we crammed in there. So, real quick, I'd love to get your questions answered. It seems like there was a bunch of them in the chat box. I haven't been following them, but before everyone goes, like honestly, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for volunteering as a coach, making a difference in our community and in all of our children's lives. Like, I know the kind of commitment it takes. And so my hat's off to all of you, and thank you from me personally for everything that you're doing for our community.
Yeah,
So,
hey, Josh. This is Carlos. Two guys. Hey, before you leave, real quick, I do have some questions that people text me directly. I'm going to answer them as quickly as possible. I know it's already past 8 o'clock, so real quick, I'm going to go through them. Josh and Jaime, can you let me go through them real quick, or did you have something else?
go for it.
Okay, so the first question was 10U. So you talked about 10U, everybody having to play 75% of the game. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense because there's X amount of players. That's absolutely true. 10U division, so 10U coaches, That is the only division we have that problem in. There's too many players on one team for every kid to play 75% of the time. What that means is two kids during that game, if all your kids show up on your team for game day, two kids will only be able to play mathematically 2 quarters. The important thing about that is just make sure you keep track of who those kids are so that the next game they don't sit out 2 quarters, right? So just keep track. It's a little more work for you, but just keep track of who sat out 2 quarters. That way the next game they actually play 3 quarters. Okay. So again, that only happens with 10U, and that only happens if all the kids in 10U show up on game day.
And by the way, to add to that real fast, Carlos, I would also absolutely make sure to add that as a bullet point to talk to your parents during the coaches meeting. Just give them a heads up before that even happens, right? So heads up, parents, 2 of the kids per week may only play 50%, just heads up, and I'm going to keep track of it all, exactly what Carlos said a second ago.
And again, that issue only happens in 10U. So those are the 10U coaches. 6U coaches is very important. Somebody asked how many coaches are allowed to be on the field. It's only one coach per team allowed on the field. So one coach, because the coach is the one who's refereeing the game, one coach will pick one side, another coach will pick the other side. There should only be 2 adults on the field with the kids at any given time. Okay, it cannot be one time I saw in one of the games like 4 people out there. It can only be one coach per team on the field. One coach picks one side, the other coach picks the other side, and they referee the game that way. For schoolyard and 6U, are they required to do volunteer points? No, for schoolyard and 6U, they're not required to fulfill volunteer point program. It is designed only for 8U and above. Of course, we appreciate any help and all help that you provide. So if you're willing to help us out, even though your team isn't required to do volunteer points, of course, we would welcome you helping us out. So, but yes, to answer your question, 6U and schoolyard does not have to do the volunteer point system. Where do I send my team name? I'm going to send out a questionnaire for the team name once we get there, once you get your roster and stuff, whatever. But in the meantime, if you already have a team name for whatever reason, feel free to email it to me, and then I'll make a notation of it. Where can I get a banner from? Christy, Christy and Brian, her husband, the registrar team, they'll provide you with vendor information in your binder on the coach meet and greet. We'll also email it to you. Or you can use any vendor you want that does banners, right? But if you use our AYSO vendors, they usually give you a discount. So it's a little cheaper if you order through the vendors that we use. But you'll have that information on a coach's meet and greet, or we can just email it to you as well. Referee certifications, all coaches have to be certified. When is the next class? That's up to the referee admin. I think it was on one of the slides. It'll happen soon. I'm sure they're going to come up with by this weekend, they'll come up with a date for you guys to be certified as referees. Again, there is an online portion you have to do first, and then you have to do the 1.5 to 2 hour in-person one. How do we sign up for tent duty and field lining? Every week, right before game day, I will email to you as coaches the tent duty sign-up sheet. It's a Google form where parents can sign up, and the field lining sign-up sheet. I send it to you guys, and then I ask you guys to send it to the parents so that they can volunteer for your team. So it is very simple to do. You just click on the link, click on the day, and then they put their name down and stuff. So once they put their name down, then when the event happens, that Saturday is over. On Sunday, I total your points and I add them to your volunteer point system for your team. How do you sign up for referees? Same thing. The referee scheduler, Jim, will send out the referee schedule. It's typically sent out on Monday morning, and it's first come, first serve. They'll send out all the games and all the referees we need for each game. And then you just, like, if you have a game at 9 o'clock and you want to referee a game, or your team wants to referee a game, let's say at 10:30, because they don't want to be there all day. Again, it's first come, first serve. So we release it to all the coaches and all the referees, and they just put in their date and time that they want to do. Again, it's first come, first serve. We don't release schedules for more than that next week. It's always game by game. So they only release the next game. They don't release the entire season. Okay, so you do it week by week. Do we get points for being on the coaches meeting? Yes, you do. For being on this meeting, you earn 3 miscellaneous points. So congratulations, you've already earned, the coaches that were here, you've earned some miscellaneous volunteer points in that category. Team meeting, can I have it at a pizza place? Yes. The only bad thing about that is that it's such a short time, and typically we have, because of the rain and stuff, everything's been crunched together. but you can have a team meeting at a pizza place. Most pizza places, if not all pizza places, Shakey's, Pizza Factory, all the local ones, as long as you tell them you're with AYSO, they will provide 2 free pizzas and drinks for the players. They will not provide it for the adults, but they will give it for the kids and I'm sorry, for the players. Again, 2 free pizzas, 1 topping pizzas, and then the drinks. And as long as the parents buy their own food, it's a good time to actually get all the parents and kids together, and then you go over the volunteer point system and expectations for the season. That's when you ask for assistant coaches. That's when you ask for referees. And again, explain the volunteer point system too. You don't have to do it that way, but again, a pizza place will do it for free if you do want to do it that way. Some coaches just do it on the field, like Josh said, on day one of practice. They allocate about 20 to 25 minutes, 15, 20, 25 minutes, and then they get all the parents together at the end of practice and then go over the volunteer point system. I would suggest you print it out. I'm going to send you a 1-page sheet so that you can easy. You don't have to spend a lot of paper, and print it out and then provide it for the parents. And same thing as Josh said. Thank you for volunteering. I know that some of you I had to talk you into it, but I'm guarantee you're going to love it. Your kids are going to love it. They're always going to remember the fact that you took the time to spend this much more time with them. It is going to be very, very memorable for them. So thank you guys for everything you do. And don't forget, I'm going to send you the Google form for your practice days and times at 8 a.m. tomorrow. I already scheduled it. It will go out at 8 a.m. So just please make sure you be on the lookout for it.
Real quick before we go, there aren't many. There are only a couple left. So there are a few additional questions that I'll ask, and maybe Carlos and Josh, you guys can field them. So does Schoolyard do snacks after each scrimmage? I guess this kind of goes into like snacks in general, as far as like even the other divisions as well.
Yeah, I'll answer that question real quick. So snacks is up to the team. It's not required, but I guarantee you right now, the coaches care more about the wins and losses than the kids do. Okay, maybe the 14U and 16U, maybe they care a little more, but the younger kids, yeah, definitely 12U and below, they care more about the snacks than they do the win and the loss, to be honest. So I would encourage you to do snacks, but you do not have to. It is completely up to the team. If you do, obviously, the team manager or the coach can come up with the team's snack schedule and then just provide it. But yeah, it's totally up to you.
Perfect. And next up, I know, Ricardo, you basically answered this, but we'll talk about it a little more. For 8U, will there be a coach's course on Sunday? Right now, Josh, obviously, it's like technically the answer is yes, although we know there's rain in the forecast. That kind of messes things up a little bit. However, I would almost think if rain stops by end of day Saturday, we're technically not really supposed to be on that field on Sunday, but we have the ability to go ahead and do it if we really wanted to. So it's up to you. It ends up being up to you, Josh. And I guess in some ways it ends up being up to the weather, I guess.
Right. That's still TBD. I did send another email out, I believe yesterday, to all the 6-unit U coaches, because we just need to bump up the numbers. Right now, as of yesterday, I think we had 3 coaches that were signed up. And so let's bump that up. If we can get a few more coaches, I'm pretty sure Alex and I will still be able to hold that course.
Okay.
It's going to depend. And then obviously if it's still raining, then no.
Right.
But we definitely want to provide that to you. So if we can't do it this Sunday, we'll figure out something to get you guys the information and the training that you need.
And obviously that goes into the next question, which is the answer is yes, but will 1463 be hosting another in-person coaches training? You got to figure yes, especially for 10U and 12U. We are talking about that behind the scenes now, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. So we'll just let you know. Josh will let you know. Carlos will let you know as soon as we figure that out, but we will absolutely be having more courses. Let's see, a few other questions. Does Schoolyard need to sign up for a field and practice time, or is it already set? No, you do not. So Schoolyard is always the same times every Saturday. There's 2 sessions. It's either going to be an 8:30 session or a 9:30 session. Now those times aren't 100% set in stone, but typically it's 8:30 and 9:30 every Saturday, and they are always the exact same time every single Saturday. And if your parents or you happen to get a certain time, if you're the 8:30, you will always be the 8:30. If you're the 9:30, you will always be the 9:30 from that point on. So no need to contact Josh for any field or practice related scheduling for Schoolyard. Oh, thank you, Omar. Sorry, I missed that you answered that question, and Michelle said thank you, so I just wasted everybody's time. Let's see, anybody else? Am I missing a question or two?
I think Steve had his hand up a little earlier. Steve, did you have something to add?
All I wanted to say is that the referee schedule only goes out to people that are referee volunteers. It does not go to the coaches. It would only go to the coaches if they are a referee.
Makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, actually, but it does go out because everybody has to be referee certified, so they're on there.
But if they haven't submitted their volunteer form to be a referee, they won't get it. They have to volunteer as a referee to be on the list of referees that we can.
They have to 100% complete everything, Carlos. That includes the application. So
No, I know, but they don't get certified unless they do it. So that's what I'm saying, I guess. So all of them are on there. They will be on there, or they don't get to be in the commissioner's scrap. So, so every coach is certified as a referee.
couple other notes. Sorry guys, we keep doing like one more. So a couple of the other notes that I wrote down that we failed to put in the we didn't get a chance to put in the actual documentation that I want to make sure we talk about. So number one, and we just kind of really implemented this season because it became an issue and a concern. Coaches who are not cleared. So if you do not have 100% of your certifications, especially assistant coaches, you cannot be out there practicing. Now, Carlos will talk to you guys about this stuff at the very beginning before game number one, even though, man, that really isn't all that long away. You know, typically we basically say, as long as you have your safety related certs, you're okay. And then by the time game one hits, you absolutely have to have your coach certifications all complete too. And that is still the case. But one issue we've had for a while now is even throughout the season, we'll see assistant coaches or people out there practicing with the kids who have not completed their certifications. Please be aware that we will be looking at that this season. If we notice any of that going on this season, we will have to knock down volunteer points. We're going to take that very seriously. It's really important that anybody who's out there as a head coach or an assistant coach, you guys are 100% certified to be out there, or else there could be ramifications for our region. So we just got to make sure to be careful on that. And then another quick note, not exactly related, but as far as head coaches and assistant coaches, head coaches, you are allowed to have multiple assistant coaches if you need the help. However, on game day itself, you can, in the technical area, you are only allowed to have a head coach and an assistant coach and one assistant coach, and that's it. So even if you have 2-3 assistant coaches, you can only choose one assistant coach to be with you in the technical area, the coaches area. All other assistant coaches must go back and be with the spectators, right? So just heads up on that as well. And by the way, that's it for me. I got nothing else, Josh.
One more thing.
What?
Honestly, so it looks like we got all the questions that were put out in the chat. If anyone's still on the call and has another question that hasn't been answered, use that little raise hand button, and we'll open up the mic and get your question answered. Anybody? Going once, going twice. I don't see any hands.
As you guys are dropping off. Yeah. Thank you, coaches, as you guys are dropping off. Thank you for everything you're doing. And thank you for the season, man. It's going to be an amazing season. Reach out to us if you have any questions.